The story begins on a rainy night, and a boy was scribbling something on the ground while reciting a ritual, asking for some higher being to answer his call. He asks to gain fame, fortune, and absolute power, as well as great wealth, so that he can cure his mother of a serious illness and pay off debts so that both can have a better life. On his phone, messages kept coming, saying that his loan request had been denied, along with debt collections. He raises his arms to the sky, making a bizarre face, offering his soul and his body, even becoming a mere servant. In his eyes, it is possible to see something approaching, and in the next second, a lightning bolt strikes directly where he was. After that, he remains unconscious until he finally opens his eyes and tries to get up, feeling like his head is going to explode, and only remembering that he was at the company working on a project. Looking to the side, he sees a huge puddle of water reflecting his face, and at that moment, he gets scared, asking why his face had changed so much. But his surprises were not over, as in front of him, there was a giant tree and he did not understand where the hell he was. Suddenly, a voice echoes in his head congratulating him. Then a book appears saying that it was successfully summoned and therefore will grant 3 wishes, allowing him to ask for anything. The MC is surprised since he is seeing a talking book, and something like that did not exist on planet Earth, and he wonders if by chance he transmigrated. He begins to analyze the book from cover to cover, since apparently he gained some wishes, although he thought 3 wishes were too few. Because of this, he has the brilliant idea that his first wish is for it to grant 10 more wishes, since he always wanted to try something like that. The book opens a hideous mouth and begins to transform into something bizarre while saying it even thought there was a problem with the contract. Chen is frightened looking up, since the book simply became a giant demon that only said that the human was a new soul. The MC remains on the ground scared since he does not understand what it means with the talk about soul or contract, and asks what exactly that monster is. The demon makes it clear that a mere mortal is not worthy of knowing about his existence, and the only thing he needs to know is that the original owner of that body used his own soul to summon him, and since the soul was consumed, another being occupied the body that was supposed to be his, making it clear that this makes him property. The MC is terrified hearing all this, since everything indicates that he really transmigrated into another body in another world and was used as a sacrifice. He decides to start running since he needs to escape as quickly as possible, but the demon only snaps his fingers, and Chen's body begins to catch fire for no reason. The demon explains that when the contract is ready and is violated, he will suffer cruel torture as punishment. He even calls him a pathetic human for being weak and warns that it is better to die in the end. However, still alive, the MC says that according to the law of the contract, in case of breach resulting from greater forces, Party B is exempt from responsibility, and since he himself was interfered with by the demon and could not complete the contract, then the responsibility lies with the superior, and therefore he cannot kill him for breaching the contract. The demon turns and asks if really a mortal is trying to impose rules, and he replies that he is aware that the monster in front of him is a powerful existence, and that it could even have killed him at that very moment and yet did not. So he deduces that this is nothing more than a test to see if he is a suitable candidate, and with his confident gaze asks if by any chance he was qualified to have the contract signed. The demon remains silent for a moment and bursts into laughter, finding the situation very interesting, since he is witnessing the first human daring to negotiate with him, and confesses that he has awakened a certain interest. Because of that, he summons the contract in front of the MC and says that he decided that if a human can grant him a wish, he himself will give a new life, and, with his horrifying face, says that he wants him to grant more than 999 wishes, and warns that there is not much time to think. Chen is outraged hearing this since the demon blatantly copied his wish. He gets furious since there is not much to do and answers that he will obey his new boss. Thus, the soul contract is signed, stating that the contractor gives his soul and must fulfill 999 conditions from the issuer of the contract, and once completed, the issuer may grant appropriate rewards. After that, the MC leaves and arrives in front of his house, although not knowing for sure if it really is his house since his new boss simply left him there. He remembers when he was expelled from the portal, while the book told him to do whatever he wanted, and that it would return soon to give some order. He becomes thoughtful about this since he imagined he would be treated as a slave, and that was not the case. And since he does not know exactly what to do, he just decides to go on with life. He opens the door of the house and upon entering, asks if there is no one in the house, while also noticing that the family's situation is more difficult than he imagined. He picks up a paper that was on the table and is shocked to see that it is a loan contract of 2 liters of blood, not understanding what kind of hellish situation the original owner of that body was in. Suddenly, someone appears hitting him with an iron bar, throwing him far to the other side of the room. The man asks if by chance he was dead since he dared to ignore his calls. One of his henchmen asks him to be careful not to kill him, but the other replies that it is fine since the MC is a thief and his body is resistant. Chen turns furious, asking who the hell they are, but he receives another blow straight to the stomach, with the blonde guy questioning if he forgot the debt he made 7 days ago and if by chance he is drugged. He begins to unleash countless kicks while also calling the MC's mother a stupid old woman, since she will risk her own life to pay the debt of a useless person, and asks if the 2 of them will always be trash. He only keeps defending himself while being forced to listen that he is a useless thief just like his mother and that they are not worthy enough to live. At this moment, he remembers when he was a child and his mother asked if he would like to give up being a thief. He answers that no, since he does not want his mother to work so hard, and also says that he had a nightmare where he dreamed that she had to make handicrafts every day until one day she slept and never woke up again. She is surprised hearing this and, smiling, extends her hand to his head and asks him not to worry, since everything will be fine, and her image appears in front of him trying to comfort him, since all she wanted was for him to believe more in himself. These memories fill him with fury, and looking at the blonde in front of him, he lands a punch straight to his mouth that makes him fly with all force to the other side of the room. The henchman, who was not paying attention to what was happening, is startled to see something passing by his side like a bullet. They see Pietro completely smashed against the wall. The 2 turn around saying that something is wrong, and, when looking at the MC, ask if by chance that aura means he became a star level. He, with his frightening face, questions, what is the problem with someone of low class trying to rise socially and economically, telling everyone to shut up since he is not in the mood. Junggu looks irritated since, from what he sees, the MC is only at stage 2 of Class E, and even so, he is being arrogant. Because of this, the 2 begin to walk slowly, agreeing to give him a good lesson so he learns once and for all. The MC begins to feel the power flowing through his body and imagines that the Oracle and Stage 2 of Class E, which he heard the bullies talking about, could be about the power inside him, believing that it is probably of a higher level than himself. Suddenly, Junggu appears attacking, but Chen notices that he can see the movements completely and therefore easily dodges the attack, making him hit the ground. In the next second, he appears behind him and lands a kick straight to the head of the big guy, making human ketchup gush everywhere. James advances scared since as far as he knew, the MC was Class E Stage 2 and doesn't understand how he can be so fast and strong, but he feels confident for being in a blind spot, and maybe he can even break his ribs. This thought is useless since Chen, even with his back turned, lifts his leg and lands a direct kick on his stomach, making him vomit without understanding how he knew where he was without even looking, and because of that, he is thrown to the other side of the room. He starts begging for his life since he has no idea how the MC became so strong, and claims he was only following orders since the one responsible for everything was Lin Yu. Chen questions that name and makes it clear that he will settle the debt, and that's why he wants them to stop bothering him. Immediately, Jaime grabs his colleagues and leaves the house. The MC stays silent for a moment and asks if by any chance his boss was watching. At that moment, the demonic book appears through a portal, confessing that he is surprised that he managed to sense his presence. The MC points out that he felt a strange power, and therefore imagined that he had been receiving slight help. His boss replies that it was exactly that, since if he hadn't lent a little power, he probably would have died. He gets excited since more and more he thinks of the book as his golden finger, because if it could lend power all the time, he wouldn't need to fear anyone. The evil god asks if he is dreaming since power is not something a mere mortal can use, and he even got lucky, that time for not having passed the limit. Otherwise, the gang of bullies would have dropped dead without him even touching them. The MC questions if working for a deity has no benefit, since if he got stronger, it would be easier to fulfill the wishes requested of him. The book tells him not to worry, since by the contract it will give him a useful reward, but has not yet decided what it will be, and already warns that it will not lend its own power again unless he wants to die. Chen gets upset upon hearing this, The evil god imagines that in fact his contractor exceeded his expectations because not only did he take his power, but also controlled it too well, and wonders if by any chance the MC is his point of destiny. Chen, curious, asks what will be the second wish he will have to fulfill. The book gets confused with the question, and the MC asks if he is not going to want him to fulfill more than 900 wishes. The evil god explains that he hasn't thought of any, and even asks him to relax since he made many wishes. And when the time comes, the boy will understand. Chen doesn't understand anything and asks what he needs to do, and his boss just tells him to do whatever he wants. He gets worried since he doesn't understand anything about that world, and was trusting that he would receive some order, and from that order, he would know where to go, but apparently that is not the case. Then he picks up his cell phone, which he had taken from the roof, and decides that he will learn more about the former owner of the body so he can live as him. After some time checking the phone, he concludes that most of the messages are all about debts and online purchases of supplements, and realizes that being an oracle is expensive, and that there isn't even a single message from the family. He barely says this, and goes into shock, since there was a message from his sister saying that their mother had fainted and was in the hospital, and therefore wanted him to hurry to meet them. Without thinking twice, he runs to the location, and upon opening the door, he notices his sister lying in front of their mother's bed. He becomes thoughtful since the atmosphere was tense, but he knows that anyone would be angry for ignoring something so important, especially seeing his sister downcast. He approaches and realizes that the person on the stretcher really is his mother. Seeing her for a moment makes him recall that she is different from his memories, and he worries if it was all because of him. Then, to break the mood, he calls his sister, apologizing for being late and asking how their mother is. Yue Qing immediately asks what his excuse will be, this time guessing if it will be training or if he was busy summoning gods to do great things. She begins to tremble and says that their mother worked hard to pay his debts, even fainting, and then, crying, she screams, wanting to know why he never visited her even once, since their mother gave everything so that nothing would be left for him. She continues pointing out that their mother could not even go to the ICU because she had to pay his debts and survived only with willpower, as she came very close to dying, and that is why she wants to know if he can understand this. After venting, she takes a deep breath and apologizes, since she herself and her mother are tired. Yue Qing shows a card that has enough for 6 months of expenses and warns that from that moment on, she herself will take care of their mother, and that, furthermore, he will have to take care of his own bills since the two of them will no longer have anything to do with him. The MC begins to sweat cold, and she ends by saying that from that moment on, the two of them no longer have any ties with him. With this conclusion, he leaves the hospital, and the evil god says that he can feel his anguish, and asks if, by any chance, the words of a human affected him so much, since theoretically the girl should be a stranger to him, as he is a reincarnated from another world, and adds that in the end, it is not really his fault. Chen is surprised since he did not expect the book to be the type that consoles others, and explains that he is fine, as the girl just reminded him of the past. The book agrees, since it does not want to see any mess delaying its wish. The MC fills himself with confidence and asks if he will become stronger if he shows his worth, since that way, he will be able to make up for everything that happened. The evil god finds this interesting and replies that yes, he will become stronger if he proves his worth, and seeing the MC walking, imagines that he does not want to see the boy disappointing him. Meanwhile, at the brilliant nightclub in the City of Light, Lin Yu is sitting with 2 girls and comments that the month's profit was not bad, and orders them to contact the other thugs to speed up the recovery process, since the high echelon cannot wait that long. His employee replies that it is no problem and says that according to the investigation, someone from the organization in Zone A had trouble collecting rent and 3 of them were beaten by a student. He finds this funny and comments that there is still time for the harvest, affirming that it is because of arrogant people that less money is being lent than before. The employee says that he will punish those responsible, but explains that it is a special situation, since among the people there are oracles of apprentices of level 2 and 3, and apparently the thugs were injured by students who had just reached level 2. Lin Yu remains silent listening to this, and asks for the report, since he wants to know who it is. After seeing the photo of the MC, he becomes puzzled, trying to understand how a brat of low level could defeat a level 2 and a level 3 at the same time, since even one of the weakest level 3s can fight against 10 people of level 2, and the gap between levels is not something that can be compensated only with skills. He smiles, considering that Chen may be hiding the strength he possesses, since he is probably a level 3, then orders close observation, and not to let such a talent escape. The next day, the MC appears running, until this catches the attention of an old man, who asks why he has been arriving so early in recent days, since the restock of basic stellar energy supplements recently arrived costing 400 per bottle. Chen greets him and apologizes, since he will not want it, because he already has some. The man says it is no problem, and asks if by any chance he got a girlfriend, since he is all excited early in the morning. The MC returns to his run and reflects that after leaving the hospital, he spent a few days getting used to that body and also researching information, combined with some memories that he implanted in that body, and with that, basically understood all the common knowledge of that world. He knows that people in that world use special supplements regularly to gain power, and these individuals are known as oracles. The drugs used to become an oracle are very expensive, and that is why the former owner of that body had so many debts. He imagines that he does not know for sure what the upper limit is, but even the lowest level oracles have physical attributes highly superior to those of normal people. He realizes how much stronger his body became by using the supplement, making sense why everyone wants to become an oracle. Suddenly, his phone starts ringing, and when he answers, he notices it is the class monitor, who criticizes him wanting to know if he is awake, and also warns that the leave he asked for has ended, and the teacher asked her to remind him to return to class. He says he did not forget since he was awake, but inside, he knows he did forget. Because of this, he goes to school, and the teacher informs them that they have already talked about the history of oracles, and therefore, she wants to talk about the impact on the economy. Chen keeps paying attention and imagines that the status of an oracle is determined by strength and differentiated by ranking. The lowest level is rank E, and the highest is rank S, and one must first reach the highest level of the current rank to advance to the next. It is said that those who reach rank S are treated like gods. To compensate for the power of the oracles, the world is divided into 5 levels. The 5th level is where ordinary people of level E live, and it is called the peripheral layer. Levels above 4 are the inner layer, symbolizing power and strength, and one must be at least rank D to enter. He imagines that he is currently at rank E, which is the lowest possible, and to obtain more resources, he will have to go to the median sector of the city, and therefore needs to figure out how to increase his strength as quickly as possible. Suddenly, he is hit by a piece of chalk, and when he looks back, he notices it is 2 students provoking him. Jonas asks if by chance he is mocking them, acting superior just because he did better on the written test. And his friend concludes that even though both are level 1, his punch alone is enough to knock him out. The MC thinks there is trash everywhere. At this moment, the teacher announces there will be a test in physical education class, and therefore, everyone must change clothes to go to the yard. Already outside, Chen keeps warming up while reflecting that students from the Oracle department have physical education classes most of the day, and he even finds the methodology interesting. At this moment, a student approaches calling him, and everyone around starts shouting that there will be a fight again, since they see the troublemakers picking a fight with the MC, and even ask if the 2 never get tired of provoking him since every month it is the same. James keeps provoking, wanting to know if he enjoyed facing them in the classroom, and asks what is the point of scoring high on the written test, since on the battlefield it means nothing. He also states that for an oracle level and strength are the most important, and asks if in terms of strength, the MC is not just a piece of trash at his level. Chen finds this funny and asks if, following that logic, he himself is not also useless. Hearing this makes him curious enough to prepare to throw a punch, but when he does, his strike is blocked with extreme ease, and the other still asks if he has finished spouting nonsense. Jamie starts to worry since he cannot break free. The MC then asks if he can shut the trash's mouth, and he starts trembling all over, asking him to wait. At this moment, both feel a powerful presence, and Chen begins to sweat cold as it is an intense feeling of oppression. It was Professor Zijoa, wanting to know who gave permission to cause problems in his class. He calls the MC a junkie, and questions if he is already causing trouble right after returning. Chen changes his expression and responds that he is not, saying they were just practicing a fight, and therefore he releases the guy's arm. Zijoa says that was the first warning and makes it clear that if he does something again, he will have problems. Then he gathers the entire class and orders them to listen carefully, since they have only 3 months until the graduation exam. And the post-graduation transfer tournament is even more important. He warns that if they do well in the exam, not only will they bring glory to the school, but they will also be able to enter a prestigious academy. And to ensure good performance, he prepared beginner supplements of rank A. The students start taking the test, and while one is already almost dead with 24 repetitions, another is more excited, reaching up to 50. The MC watches from afar, questioning if that is the Oracle's test, since he thought it would be something special. At this moment, someone calls his attention asking if he is okay. It was the class representative saying that he had missed several days and, because of that, thought something had happened. Then, she gets embarrassed, apologizing for being nosy, but she found it strange that something like this happened so close to graduation and was just curious. He laughs and says he is fine, also thanking her for caring. Ludian then asks if he will not buy the teacher's supplement, and he answers that he will not, since he has no money, and imagines that the supplements are expensive, and if he is the only one not buying, then it must mean he is the poorest in the class. She starts saying that he will have difficulties if he does not buy the supplement, but is interrupted by the teacher calling her. The girl says goodbye and goes to the bar to try to pass the exam. Zijoa observes and reflects that she bought 2 bottles of supplement, and because of that, he approves her. Chen starts realizing that the teacher helps those who buy the supplements and hopes his skills will be enough since he is poor. He barely thinks about this and is called to take the test, and the teacher notices that he did not buy anything and, with a smile on his face, imagines that no one can be confident to pass without the supplement and, after making him fail, will use him as an example. The MC looks at the iron bar and notices that it seems normal, but when he places his hand, he is startled since he feels his body getting heavier, and the more strength he uses, the harder it gets, trying to understand if it is because of the crystal on the protection of his wrist. He also notices that the applied weight has a limit and that, with his current strength, he will be able to adapt. Then he immediately starts doing the bar, even with the weight rising from 20 kilos to 100. The students around are surprised to witness this, and ask if by chance the MC just did 100 times, since before he could not even do 30, and he is already almost second in the ranking. He finishes the exercise, and at the same moment several students run around him, saying that he was incredible, since with the grade he got he could join the elite class. And they still ask when he reached second in the rank, and if by chance he used many supplements. At the same time, the teacher is watching from afar, wondering if Chen used steroids, since his physique improved a lot, but soon dismisses this possibility because it is something too expensive for someone like him to buy, and he does not understand how he reached second rank in just a few days. Besides worrying that if they discover he reached such a level without using supplements, he will not be able to sell anything anymore. He changes his expression since he does not want his sales to end this way, and because of that, guarantees that he will teach a valuable lesson. After that, in the principal's office, he is on the phone saying that for a school like his, which has no support or sponsorship, producing someone of third rank is too difficult, and because of that, he wants to try to reach some agreement, but cannot. Because of this, he hangs up the phone and feels frustrated since the elite class equipment requires a lot of money, and the school practically has no resources to maintain someone of second rank. He looks at the picture of his senior and asks what he should do, since the academy will go bankrupt if it continues that way. At this moment, he looks to the side since the teacher asked to come in, and as he approaches, Zijoa delivers the students' grades and says that the performance was excellent and that he believes the class will produce extraordinary oracles. However, the principal reads the grades and realizes that there is nothing extraordinary, since there are only first-rank people, and people like that could not be sent to the battlefield until the teacher informs that among the candidates, there is one exception that matches the function of the schedule and says Chen's name. Because of this, the MC is called to the principal's office, and the evil god questions what he did, and he answers that he does not know, or that at least he does not remember doing anything. He approaches the room and reflects that he heard the director's personality is tough, so being called by him is something complicated. When trying to touch the doorknob, an aura begins to emerge from the door, and he gets scared, asking what it is. The book is also surprised and says that it finally appeared, explaining that it is the wish activated by the specific condition it had mentioned the other day, and, from what it sees, something that wants to be close. For standing still, the director draws his attention and he immediately enters, asking why he was called. The director places his hand on the MC's file and informs him that he found his physique good, since it is almost of second rank, but says that the problem is the absences, the disrespect toward teachers, and the fights, as it gives the impression that he is hot-tempered, but confesses that this is irrelevant since he believes that something is more important than everything for an oracle. He makes it clear that he is referring to money and, because of that, warns that Chen should give up once and for all. The MC is scared since from what he understood, the costs of an oracle at the advanced stage are extremely high, and the teacher confirms it, also pointing out that Chen's family is going through difficulties, and therefore, he thinks it is better to cut the costs, besides the fact that the school is going through a crisis and does not even know if it will continue to survive. He says this and imagines that putting a good student in the elite class will not be interesting, since they need to use the resources on those who really have potential, and even with a level 3 student, the result is not certain. That is why he says he will not need to attend the next day and wants to know what he thinks about it. He remains silent for a moment, processing everything, until something catches the attention of the evil god, and he tells the MC that he has found the target and therefore wants him to take it. He asks if it is some kind of joke since he can barely stand, and questions if the book cannot take it on its own. The evil god replies that obviously, if he could, he would have already done it, but the contract stipulates that he can only obtain something that belongs completely to the MC, and therefore, he must find a way to possess the crystal. He does not like this at all, since if he wants to pay his debt, he will need to enter the central zone of the city, but he is aware that entering the city, besides requiring a rank D, also asks for an Oracle graduation certificate, and that is the only high school in that city, so he cannot be expelled at all. After thinking about it, he takes a deep breath since he needs to find a solution, and as far as he remembers, since the founding of the Elite Academy, no student has surpassed level 2, which means that for the school, anyone above level 2 is incredibly valuable. He calls his master, and since he has not yet received a reward for helping to fulfill the wish, he asks if he can decide on his own which one. The book thinks for a while and replies that probably yes. Then, confident, the MC says that the reward he wants is to borrow the power. The evil god says that his body will not withstand it and that he only survived last time by pure luck. So he asks him to choose a different plan, but he replies that he cannot risk being expelled. And since if that happens, he has no idea how long it will take until the next chance to reach the central city, he asks him to trust him. The book perceives all this confidence and activates the contract, releasing its power, also warning that he will be on his own. The contract appears stating that the contractor grants the contracted one a reward, which is to borrow the power at any time, but warns that all consequences are the responsibility of the contracted one. He accepts without thinking twice. At that moment, the principal asks if he has anything else to say, and he replies that he would like to be tested once again to be able to decide his status only after that. Hu Wei sighs and tells him to squeeze his hand. And when he does, he realizes that he is at level 2 and that it is higher than the report stated, but still far from enough, and therefore considers it a shame. The MC closes his eyes since he knows he has only one chance and decides that he will use the maximum of the power he absorbed. Thinking this, his body begins to overflow even more energy, leaving the principal startled, since in front of him is a student overflowing with incredible power. The book is also surprised since it did not expect the explosive power of the MC to exceed even the power it had lent. Hu Wei, still astonished, cannot believe that the level simply rose all of a sudden, and looking at Chen, concludes that he has already reached level 4. Then he asks about the result, and the principal, imagining that heaven never blocks anyone's path, shouts begging him to please represent the school in the regional exchange tournament. He is confused by this request and asks if by any chance they want to impress the Department of Education by making a level 4 participate in the tournament. Hu Wei replies that yes, since competing in the level 4 classification is the greatest honor among all Oracle schools, and also says that their school has been last place for many years. Therefore, they need to show results soon. He also reinforces that this is the reason they are concentrating their resources on the most promising students, and even apologizes for having judged him wrongly. The MC says it is all right since he understands, and the director says he is happy to know that, and that, as an apology, he will waive his tuition, and as soon as he is transferred to the elite class, he will have weekly supplies. He also reinforces that if he has other needs, he should speak up, as the school will do its best to support him. Then he changes his expression, knowing that an exceptional student would be welcome anywhere, and therefore says that he hopes from the bottom of his heart that he considers representing their school in the tournament, and makes it clear that he is not exaggerating when he says that the school's future may depend on his decision. The MC reflects that the tournament must be important for them to be offering all of this, and so he makes an attempt saying that he would like to ask for the black crystal on the shelf. Hue turns and says that it is the black star crystal left by the former director, and although it has no practical use, it represents the spirit of the school. However, he knows that if the school ceases to exist, that spirit would have no meaning, so giving it away means saving the school, and he sees no problem. Chen asks him not to worry, as he will do his best in the exchange tournament. The director says it is settled, but confesses that he is a little curious since he has no idea how a student increased his power so drastically. He laughs and replies that he trained in secret and has a kind of special training method, and therefore asks to keep that level a secret. Hue says that it makes sense, and imagines that concealing levels is a skill developed by oracles to deceive enemies in combat, and he did not expect someone so young to have such tactical awareness. At this moment, a female student arrives in the room at the director's request, and he says that she should quickly take Chen to the elite class according to his instructions. She says it is fine, and they both leave walking through the school. At this moment, the teacher comes running and starts shouting at the MC, saying that he tried to beg the director to change his mind, since even with average grades, everyone deserves the right to learn, and he also asks him to stay dedicated even after being abandoned. The MC does not understand all of this, just like the student, who says that Chen was not abandoned, but transferred to the elite class. She also says that the director is looking for him and even seemed angry. Zijoa thinks about it and realizes that he screwed himself badly by trying to mess with the MC. After that, already at night, Chen lies on his bed relieved since he managed to go from level 2 to level 4 in just 3 months, and even rich geniuses spend a lot of money to rise only 1 level, so he asks his master if there is any way to level up alone at once. The evil god replies that obviously not, and makes it clear that if he wants more help, he will first need to fulfill the wish, since it was the MC himself who chose the reward, and he assures him that the borrowed power will not fool people for much longer. The MC says he already knows because he is not stupid enough to think he can win the tournament only by relying on borrowed power, and while on his cell phone, he says he is more relaxed since he avoided expulsion and received free supplies. And now that he will be able to level up, things will get better. He says this while seeing the bills arriving by email and knows that he needs to find a way to make money to solve this problem. The next day, he arrives at school and starts to find something strange since his new place of study looks more like an abandoned factory, and he does not understand what is happening. Suddenly, someone calls his name, and he notices someone waving an arm. They head toward the advanced class, and the man introduces himself as Zhang, a teacher of the advanced class. The MC is surprised since he expected the teachers of that class to be stricter, and he says that there is no need for formalities, besides wanting to know if there are other teachers. He responds that the advanced class has 3 academic teachers, but he himself is the only one handling combat training since enrollment has decreased in recent years, and few qualified for the advanced class, so they did not hire more staff. Chen realizes that, in fact, the school is in a bad phase, and better understands why the director is desperate. They arrive at the place, and the teacher says that he promises the place will not disappoint and thus officially presents the advanced class. He explains that they offer free training and therefore will introduce everyone present. The MC is surprised since the facilities do not compare at all to the other room, as they look more like a premium gym, and the students also seem motivated. However, something catches his attention since the atmosphere of the place feels tense. The teacher gathers everyone and introduces Chen as the new member of the academy, and even asks everyone to work hard to prepare for the exchange tournament. The MC only says that he is eager to learn from all the students. At this moment, a member says that he doubts the truth of the MC's strength, and even asks him to admit that he pulled some strings to get in, and that he will definitely drag the advanced class down. Zhang immediately shouts not to say that since Chen earned his spot with his own strength. Wen Hao, overflowing with his power, asks to see it, and formally challenges the MC to a duel. All the students are surprised since they had not heard of a formal challenge in centuries, and, unlike normal training, formal challenges require both sides to fight with their pride at stake, and the loser must obey the winner without complaint. without understanding how the strongest student in the academy is intimidating a newcomer this way. A student lifting weights asks what is happening, and a girl replies that apparently a transferred newcomer is about to fight Wenhao. The teacher asks not to worry since a formal challenge is only accepted if both parties agree, but Chen accepts the challenge without thinking twice and even says that if it is a friendly match without lethal force, then there will be no problems. He says this imagining it is a good chance to assess his strength before the tournament. At the same time, in the director's office, the teacher calls reporting that Chen is already fighting another student, but soon specifies that in fact, it was Wenhao who issued a formal challenge, and Chen accepted. At the same time, the entire class is encouraging Wenhao to teach the newcomer a lesson. The director thinks about this, wondering if the MC is perhaps conducting some kind of test since, as far as he knows, he trained in power concealment and therefore orders the arena to be prepared as he authorizes the challenge. With everything settled, both stand face to face, and the teacher warns that he will dictate the rules since it is Chen's first time. He states that it will follow the same format as the regional tournament, where only the two combatants can enter the arena and anyone who interferes will be expelled immediately, and both must have the same star level. Wenhao wonders if by chance the MC is also an E rank level 2, since from what he sees, that is what the cube is showing. The teacher continues the explanation, making it clear that they cannot use lethal force nor retaliation after the fight, and that a clean facial strike or a verbal surrender will result in the end of the match. With everything explained, he gives the order to begin, and immediately Wenhao charges for the attack, trying to grab the MC's neck since he wants to finish it instantly. However, it is useless since he only blocks the attack, as he knew his opponent's plan to strike first. Next, the fire-haired one keeps trying to land other blows but misses them all. He attacks with more fury, but Chen keeps dodging with extreme ease, and he becomes increasingly irritated, deciding to attack with his kick this time. And at the moment the MC dodges, he shifts the direction of the attack aiming at his head, landing a full hit that in fact strikes the MC's arm. He looks to the side after this attack, and placing his hand on the ground, lands a full kick to the neck that leaves the big guy shocked, since he did not imagine his opponent also knew martial arts. He tries to calm down, because as long as he doesn't receive an attack to his face, he will be fine, and therefore still has a chance. But when he turns around, he comes face to face with Chen's fist hitting his face. The MC pulls back his hand and warns that a clean facial strike means victory. Wenhao simply cannot believe what happened, and the teacher shouts that the winner of the duel was Chen. Wenhao still tries to process that he lost, as do all the other students who are shocked that the strongest in the class lost to a rookie. The MC imagines that the match ended faster than he expected and then asks if by chance there are any more complaints or if they are all over. The teacher, still processing what happened, thinks that Wenhao had professional training and therefore does not believe he lost. On the other hand, Chen never trained any technique, but his physical abilities and reaction speed were exceptional. At this moment, someone appears saying it was exceptional. It was the director who, besides praising the fight, called the MC to talk for a minute, and the two walked away while people still admired how strong he is. Meanwhile, the blonde guy could only think that he needs to recruit Chen for his team at any cost. At the same time, the director wonders if the MC is getting used to the elite class, and he replies that everything is fine, although he noticed that his classmates are a little too enthusiastic. Hu Wei agrees and says it is normal for them to be surprised when they see someone strong, and therefore asks him to focus on training, also telling him to ask for anything he needs. The MC is amazed at how much the director came to trust him, and, therefore embarrassed, he asks if the students have any way to make quick money. The director is surprised by this question, but asks that at his age he should not worry about money, since he should focus on training so that only later he can make a lot of money, besides knowing that his family is going through difficulties, and therefore says that the school can cover some costs. However, Chen just thinks it's fine since he asked on impulse and believes he will have to find another way to make money. Back at the academy, he keeps thinking that student loans are severely punished by the school, and therefore, it's better not to get caught, but he still doesn't know where he could make money. At this moment, someone approaches calling his attention. It was Jiarui, saying that he found the fight amazing since it even caught the director's attention. The MC, confused, asks who the hell he is. At this moment, Xiaoxia approaches and apologizes, since her colleague has always been weird like that. Then she explains that, based on the registrations, they are his seniors, and therefore asks him to feel free to ask anything if he has doubts. He doesn't know what to say and just thanks. Jiarui says that now they are a team of 3, and as team leader, he will make sure the MC is fine. He is confused, finding all this strange, and the blonde guy asks if by chance he was transferred from a lower class, and also asks where he learned the combat technique he used in the battle. Chen says he didn't understand what he meant by combat technique, and Yarui cannot believe he doesn't even know what that is, and asks what move he used to defeat Wen Hao. He smiles and just says he struck by reflex. The two cannot believe it, since it was a brutal blow, and even say that if Wen Hao finds out, he will be furious. On the other hand, the girl decides to explain that combat techniques are powerful moves that only high levels can learn using scrolls or memory stones, and depending on how they are, the effect can change. There are also many types of techniques that match each one's fighting style. Jiarui takes advantage of the subject and says that the move Wen Hao used in the battle was a rank D combat technique called hook wind kick. The MC is surprised to hear this since it was indeed strong enough that he couldn't block, and, wanting to know more, asks if combat techniques are rare. The blonde guy replies that they are basically ranked, and the stronger they are, the rarer they become. In addition, the school teaches the basic ones, but if you want powerful techniques, you will have to buy them or have someone to share, and he informs that a basic rank D technique costs around 500,000. He is shocked by such a price, and has no idea how many months it would take to get it. Jiarui gets excited since he has a technique he would like to present to the MC during a training session, just like Xiaoxia, who also has one to show. Chen gets startled since both are acting as if 500,000 is not a big deal, and therefore, he believes they must be rich. With that thought, an idea comes to his mind. Since if both are from a wealthy family, then maybe he can get information about ways to make money. Because of that, he asks if there is a quick way to make money for someone who wants to buy a technique but has none. Jiarui asks if anything counts, like robbing a bank, but he replies that this is not allowed either. The blonde guy becomes thoughtful, trying to imagine a way without limits to get money quickly, and concludes that the only option is the miracle zone called Blackwater District. At this moment, Xiaoxia appears, punching him on the head and asking him not to talk nonsense, since if a teacher hears them, they will get a huge scolding. The MC becomes curious and asks what the so-called miracle zone of the Blackwater District is. The blonde guy smiles and says he was just joking, since although he has heard that anything can happen there, the school forbids any student from getting close, and if caught, they will be exposed without even a discussion. He then asks how much money is needed to learn the combat technique he wants. The MC replies that around 300,000, and both get scared, since it is a very high amount. Immediately, they both check their balances, but realize they do not have all the money. Chen, however, becomes thoughtful about what he just heard, since desperate times call for desperate measures. And so, he decides to check the district after leaving school. Later at night, on the Blackwater Road, the MC approaches using the location on his phone and realizes the place is not very far from his house, since it only took a few minutes by car. He imagines that he changed his uniform to make it harder for someone to recognize him if seen, and then asks his master what he thinks is in that place. However, he becomes confused since the evil god's book did not appear to give any answer. He says he knows that the outer zones do not have many high-level envoys, and therefore believes he can handle it alone, even seeing that the place has clearly been abandoned for a long time. Suddenly, he hears some noises, and concludes there are signs of someone walking in the area. And upon seeing a light inside a door, he imagines there must be some interesting secret to discover. As he begins to enter, some people arrive at the place and watch with sinister faces. After Chen goes down the stairs, he is surprised since the so-called miracle zone is truly amazing, as it is like a secret city. He observes the dirty streets and people making illegal deals. While watching all this, he concludes it makes sense why it is forbidden to mention that completely lawless place, since profits can be made in any way, and he believes he might get the money even before the deadline. Only then he closes his eyes, and looking back, asks how long he will be chased. A man with his group approaches and says he was planning to defeat him when he had the chance. But since he was discovered, he decides to change to something more aggressive. The MC questions why he wants to defeat him, and he replies that he knows very well what kind of person Chen is, since he has seen many like him who are disguised brats, and believes he will make a lot of money with the ransom. The MC finds this funny, since there is no one to pay for his ransom. The man approaches, and giving light pats on his face, says that he is a powerful oracle, and therefore asks him to be polite in cooperating with the ransom. Chen calls him rude, and at the same instant slaps his head, throwing him with full force against the ground. Seeing this leaves the thugs scared, who immediately draw their knives and charge for the attack. However, 2 crates come flying and hit the crazy duo head-on, also leaving the MC confused about what happened, until suddenly someone appears in front of him and, grabbing his hand, tells him to follow her, and the 2 run off until they reach another place. The MC thanks her for saving him, although he was going to use the 2 guys to ask some questions, and she asks if by chance he is Chen. This question leaves him shocked to the point of asking if she knows him. She becomes embarrassed since she needed to keep appearances, but soon finds it strange that he didn't remember her, and therefore replies that no, pointing to his collar, which was how she identified him. Chen is surprised since he didn't realize his name was on the collar, and so he thanks her. She feels relieved since she almost lost her disguise, and then asks him not to disclose information about the Blackwater district since it is dangerous, and therefore offers to take him out. However, he refuses and thanks her, since he has urgent business in that place. Furthermore, he becomes downcast because if the girl tells that a student was there, he could get into trouble. As he was leaving, the girl starts imagining that it has been years since she last saw Chen, and wonders if he really forgot her, or if he is pretending, and if he really is a student, she doesn't understand what he is doing in such a dangerous place. She also noticed something different when touching him, and questions if by chance he became an oracle. Somewhere else, the MC makes his deals, and after concluding them, thinks that he already has enough to cover the basics, but knows that he will need to find another way to make more money. At this moment, a man calls his attention and says that he is a tour guide since he knows everything about that place, and therefore he could ask anything. The MC is surprised to know that, and therefore asks where he could make quick money in that place. The man smiles and asks him to follow, since he knows an easy place for that. Upon arriving at the new location, a battle was happening, and he asks if by chance it is an underground fight club. The man replies yes, and that it is the Money Hub. He explains that that night a special fight is happening since the winner gets the cash prize, a portion of the bets, and even oracles appear to fight. The MC realizes that although the fighter seems strong, he is level 1, and upon seeing the prize amount, understands that it is a perfect chance to gather money. The man asks if by chance he would like to enter since he could arrange some chips, but he tells him to forget the chips since he will take the prize money. The guy becomes confused since he first thought he would make money by betting and not by fighting. At this moment, Lin appears, since she saw the MC enter the place, until she becomes shocked when looking ahead, as she sees him inside the ring and doesn't understand what is happening anymore. The fighter introduces himself and says that he is the strongest of all, but before even finishing speaking, Chen lands a punch on his face that sends him to the other side of the ring. He can only think that he needs to finish as quickly as possible, and therefore asks for the next one to come in immediately. The man does that, but in the next second he is sent flying. This leaves the next fighter scared, but it is already too late since he too is sent flying with a single blow from the MC. A businessman becomes frightened by what he is seeing, since they only let Chen fight because he seemed weak and doesn't understand what the hell is happening. At this moment, one of his henchmen approaches saying that all the contracted fighters gave up on the matches, and even the clients think that they are rigging the fights and therefore want refunds. He despairs since this will be problematic and therefore orders to release the special fighter. Meanwhile, in the ring, the MC finishes off everyone who dares to challenge him, and since he knows the guy he defeated was the last one, he asks if by chance he can already receive the prize. However, it is announced that there is still one more fight ahead, and that it is, in fact, the most exciting of all. He worries about this since it implies that the organization never planned to pay him. At this moment, the employees enter carrying the special fighter, and the MC gets scared as it is announced that the next fighter is the aberration Niflun. After positioning the monster, they release it from the restraints to the point of it falling to the ground. The MC keeps watching without understanding what is happening until a device on the back of Niflun's neck activates, and he begins to rise, showing the hideous face he possesses. A woman in the audience says it is scary, and her husband asks her not to worry since he is there to protect her. But in his thoughts, he is relieved to be in the last row, as he almost peed himself from fear. Lin also gets scared and does not understand why a monster like that is there. Holding her phone tightly, she imagines that Chen is not capable of dealing with a monster of that level, and also knows that she cannot rescue him, as that would expose her location. She grows more and more frustrated. Meanwhile, the MC finds it annoying that the evil book does not appear in such a crucial moment, and knows that Niflun is definitely different from his last opponent. He looks directly at the monster and immediately realizes how frightening it is, since it looks more like a hunter going toward prey. At the same instant, Niflun moves his finger and instantly attacks Chen's face, who narrowly dodges in shock. He cannot believe how fast the attack was, and if he had not dodged instinctively, he would have died from that blow. He turns and realizes the monster is trying to kill him and therefore charges, holding both arms of his opponent since he can no longer hold back. However, the monster's strength is such that it begins to drag him backward, and this makes him even more worried as he needs to finish the fight as quickly as possible. He decides to raise his level to 4, and at the same instant his power begins to overflow through his body, and forming a hammer with both hands, he strikes the monster hard against the ground to the point of damaging the device. He keeps watching and considers whether this opponent died, but in the same second, Niflun counterattacks, grazing him with his strike. Chen retreats since his strongest attack did not have much effect, as the monster's thick skin is too resistant. He keeps running, imagining he needs a weapon. At this moment, Niflun attacks again with the resistant skin he created on his finger, and the MC takes the opportunity to break it in half. Then he takes the skin to use as a weapon and lands a direct blow on the monster's neck to the point of breaking its jaw. This frustrates him, since the blow was superficial despite causing damage. At this moment, the monster begins releasing gas throughout the arena, and Chen wonders if it is toxic mist, but realizes it is just ordinary mist. Because he overthinks, he gets distracted and a blow lands directly on his stomach. He tries to counterattack, but besides missing his target, he takes another hit on his back. He tries to defend himself from the countless blows he is taking while imagining that he cannot see anything in the mist, and all he needs to do is find a weakness. He knows that even if he survives the attacks, at some point, the borrowed power will end, and therefore he must finish the fight before that happens. He tries to calm down since he needs to see through the enemy's position using all his senses. He thinks about this and tries to focus as much as possible. By doing so, he begins to see some figures moving through the mist, and this makes him confident until another attack comes his way, and he manages to grab the opponent's arm in time and then cuts it off, making the monster scream in pain. The MC wastes no time and attacks since he found an opening until he feels his heart being electrocuted, implying he is reaching his limit. Because of this, Niflun manages to hit his hand to the point of knocking the weapon away and then attacks with his tongue, once again striking his stomach. He does not give up and decides to borrow more power. Only then does he grab the monster's tongue and pull it with all his strength toward himself. Then he grabs firmly onto its mouth with both hands and, with all his strength, warns that it is not over. Only then does he begin to scream and, without hesitation, tears the monster in two with his colossal strength. The businessman tries to understand what happened, but he can't because of the fog, until he looks terrified at the result. The same goes for Lin, who doesn't understand how what she just saw was possible, since right in front of her was Chen holding the monster's two pieces in each hand. After throwing them on the ground, he looks back with his evil gaze and terrifies all the security guards. The businessman keeps asking how it was possible and, full of fury, says he can't believe his star fighter, for whom he paid a high price, was simply killed. The MC remains standing in the arena, hearing the organizers shout to go to the competitor to congratulate the new champion, and that makes him wonder if it's finally over. After that, backstage at the arena, the organizers show the cash prize and inform him that it totaled 510,000. Chen reaches out his hand, but one of them closes the briefcase at that moment. Then, he tells him to wait and, furious, orders him to become a contracted fighter competing under his agreement. Only then he will receive the 510,000, or else just accept 110,000 to walk away. Chen questions what he means by that, and Shouting Pyong warns that all contracted fighters have fled, and the main fighter of the event the MC killed. Therefore, he owes compensation. He makes it clear that no additional fights were mentioned, and therefore stepping into the ring automatically means signing a life or death contract, so killing the opponent was nothing more than a consequence. The businessman becomes increasingly intimidated, especially seeing the sinister aura the MC is emanating. Because of this, he draws his gun, asking who the hell he thinks he is to make demands. However, in the same second, he approaches and destroys the gun with one hand, also breaking his finger. Because of this, Pyong shouts for everyone to shoot immediately. The henchmen point their guns at Chen, who just watches. At the same time, in the audience, everyone is startled when they hear gunshots. And suddenly, one of the henchmen flies through the window and crashes to the ground while people ask if this is some kind of movie scene since the jump was insanely high. Lin, however, realizes what might be happening. Meanwhile, the MC goes around beating everyone up, and even though the henchmen retaliate with gunfire, he just dodges and punches them to the ground with all his strength. Then, he tries to leave but notices the alleys are blocked and begins to worry since his heart is hurting because he used too much borrowed energy, and to make matters worse, his injuries are worsening and his body will soon give out. Suddenly, Lin appears, pulling him and covering his mouth since the security guards are searching everywhere. Chen asks if by any chance she is the same person from before, and she tells him to save his strength, saying she knows a secret passage to get him out of there, and orders him to go straight to the exit before people return. He takes off his mask, completely exhausted, thanks her for the help, and runs off without wasting time. At that moment, her superior contacts her, asking if she is in the district again, and she replies that she needs to talk to her grandfather since she discovered something in common. After running a lot, the MC finally arrives at his home and immediately falls to his knees since his heart is hurting badly, and he even thinks he can't take it anymore. He tries to resist, but collapses unconscious. He starts dreaming, where his mother says she will get better in 2 or 3 years, and on the phone, she says she wants to see him getting married and having children, and also watch him grow old, but apologizes since she no longer has the strength to walk the path with him. And her final words are that she loved him very much before going silent. At that moment, he wakes up crying and is confused about what happened. Only then does he look to the side and wonder if it is the house of the body's former owner, and realizes that he is still alive. He sighs in relief since his dream woke him up, until a voice startles him by asking if he is awake. It was the evil god saying he had been away for a while as he had business to handle elsewhere, and since he saw that he was in bad condition for 2 whole days, he believed he would not survive and therefore demands an explanation. But before getting an answer, he starts shouting furiously because he is certain that the MC used his borrowed power to kill some monster, even though he had warned not to use the power recklessly. Chen just listens silently and explains that he had no choice since he could have died. The book asks if by any chance he thinks he will bring him back if he dies, and makes it clear that the last time he revived him, he used most of his power, and therefore, if it happens again, not even he himself will be able to save him, ordering him to better appreciate this second chance. The MC just listens in silence and admits he did not expect to hear that from the evil god, even though he is certain that he really should be taking better advantage of the opportunity he received. The book says he is relieved that he understood and confesses to finding it strange that the creature he faced wanted to write, since it did not seem human and did not seem to be from that world. He replies that in any case, he no longer wants to return to the arena, which feels more like hell, and starts thinking about the girl who helped him in the district, although he cannot change his focus since he needs to know his level. Thinking about this, he remembers the money, and upon opening the briefcase notices it is intact, which relieves him, since with the 510,000, he will no longer have to worry about debts until after the regional tournament and will be able to focus solely on learning his level. He then says he needs to treat the wound on his stomach before returning to school, since unlike minor injuries, these do not heal on their own. However, he sits down as he will need hospital treatment, and once again will have to spend money. After that, he goes to the hospital, and once the treatment is done, the doctor explains that the wound has completely healed, and asks if by any chance he is an oracle since the healing speed was not normal. He replies that he is, and the doctor, smiling, says that oracles often get injured and therefore there is a promotion, as he will probably get hurt again, but he refuses and thanks him for the standard medication. He then feels relieved that the monster's tongue was not poisonous. At that moment, the doctor presents a vial and asks him to take it, but the MC finds it strange as it is glowing and therefore asks why it is shining so much. But the doctor replies that he does not see any glow, as it is just a common anti-inflammatory for oracles. Chen finds it strange since he can clearly see the glow in the vial and wonders if he is the only one who can see it. The doctor once again tries to sell his promotion, pointing out that maybe he is hallucinating due to stress, but he refuses again, and then notices that all the vials in the room are glowing, as well as some people in the hospital. He finds all of this strange and ponders whether it is one of the effects of being an oracle, and as far as he knows, the difference between ordinary people and oracles is the enhanced star energy. He wonders if the incident triggered this and feels happy, since if it is true, it will be great, as the leveling of an oracle depends on the absorption of star energy, and if he can really perceive it, he will be able to absorb it more efficiently. Suddenly, he notices a person approaching, and as they pass by his side, he feels an energy on another level. He begins to sweat cold as the star energy he felt was extraordinary. This man looks back and asks if he was scanned by any chance, but he doesn't understand how that's possible, since there's no one strong in that room. At that moment, someone calls him through the communicator asking if he's still at the hospital and also reminding him not to forget the mission to find the alien star. He asks them to relax since he doesn't want to waste that trip and even plans to stay in the country for a while longer. Then, he takes off his glasses and, smiling, makes it clear that if the alien star really is an enemy, he will destroy it personally. After that, at the academy, the director tells the MC that after joining the special class, he disappeared without even responding to messages, and that's why he wants to know what happened. He thinks he just got back and was already caught, so he apologizes, explaining that something urgent happened and he didn't have time to notify the school, and he's even willing to accept any punishment. Hu Wei says that's not what he meant, since he only asked if nothing bad had happened. Chen asks if by any chance he's worried that he might give up the scholarship or something like that. The director replies that's not the case. He's just more concerned that he might be hiding some kind of suffering he doesn't dare to talk about. The MC is surprised to hear this and asks him not to worry, saying he will give his best in the tournament to bring honor to the school. The director then asks him to return to class since his friends were worried. He's confused because he doesn't know what he means by friends. But when he returns, Jiarui and Xiaoxia run up to him. The boy starts by asking where he went since they hadn't heard from him in days, and the girl says the same, as even the teachers didn't know what happened, and she even thought he might have died. He apologizes and explains that things were hectic at his house. Then, Jiarui remembers the combat technique they were discussing and shows a card where he and Xiaoxia gathered 300,000, saying he could pay them back another day when he has the money. Chen can't believe what he's seeing since he only mentioned it casually and didn't expect them to take it so seriously, so he refuses, but thanks them and explains he found out what he needed isn't worth that much and decided not to buy it. The boy says that's a shame. At that moment, Wen Hao approaches calling the MC and says he heard he needed some money, so he gathered 50,000 even though he knows it's not much. The MC says he doesn't need it and even asks him not to act like a servant or anything like that since it's unnecessary. Xiaoxia finds this very strange and tells the boy not to interfere with his team, wondering if he has some plan in mind. He replies it's nothing like that. He just wanted to apologize to Chen because he was very arrogant that day and just wanted to make a new friendship. She whispers to Chen saying the boy is right since it was the first time he suffered a defeat and asks if he could let him join the team. He replies there's no problem with that. With that settled, she explains they're willing to accept him as the 4th member of the team, and Jiarui says they should celebrate, suggesting Wen Hao serve him a glass of water, but the boy asks if this is some kind of joke since if anyone should do something like that, it should be for Chen and not for someone who defeated them badly. He gets angry hearing this and asks if by any chance he just joined the team and is already acting like the boss. The MC feels happy to see that they're all great teammates and thinks he's lucky to be alive. Otherwise, he would never have met them. After that, in the training room, he continues imagining that the way revelators evolve is simple, since it's just about letting the body absorb the stellar energy, and the more energy it absorbs, the higher the level, like an experience bar in a game. However, he also realized that the absorption rate is even more complicated than expected and knows this because he used equipment to maximize the intensity of training, but his absorption rate is still low. He knows that the stellar energy in the body was not absorbed in time, and that if it continues slowly, it will just leak out, completely wasting it. He is not even surprised that some people remain at the same level their whole life, and, in fact, if he keeps the current pace, he will never reach level 4 before the competition. At this moment, Jiarui appears and says that the free training is getting boring and asks to fight to change things. This makes him reflect that it was only at the time he had to fight the monster that he accidentally forced himself to understand and absorb the stellar energy, and because of that, he says that he has an idea and will need everyone's help. They go to the place, and Xiaoxia activates her dancing fist, just like Jiarui, and both attack Chen at the same time, who only blocks and dodges the attacks. After this training, he says that they have been training for almost an hour, and therefore everyone should rest. Xiaoxia admits that she thought the proposal of a 2-on-1 fight was a joke and didn't think they would even manage to touch him. The blonde guy agrees, but confesses that he thought the method was amazing and that he doesn't even need to worry about winning or losing. The MC warns that the next round will be Wen Hao. After that, he observes his friends and concludes that he was right, since in that type of battle, the absorption rate skyrockets. He knows that as long as his rate is high, he might try the method he has in mind, and to ensure the safety of ordinary people, the stellar energy in regular supplements is very slightly diluted, and if his physical quality is average and his absorption is low, even drinking thousands of bottles will not increase his level. He concludes that based on his observation, the borrowed stellar energy is 100 times more concentrated than supplements. So with his current capacity, absorbing it directly would definitely make his body explode. He realizes that he could make the borrowed stellar energy permanent, and that to level up quickly, it's worth trying. Thinking about this, he uses the borrowed power and realizes that until now, he hadn't noticed how absurd the amount he can borrow is, but knows that this allowed him to level up twice in a row, and little by little, he compresses it as much as possible until finally activating absorption, and his body starts drawing all the power into his chest. He starts sweating cold since he didn't expect that even a small amount would be so insufficient, as his entire body filled instantly, and realizes that even desperately holding back, his body still absorbed too much, and at that rate, his body will explode. So he raises his hand since he needs to release all the energy, and the power is shot into the sky, scaring everyone inside the gym, who start questioning if an earthquake is happening and if Chen suddenly released stellar energy. At this moment, the evil god appears asking what is happening since he felt some strange power, and seeing the MC's body full of energy, questions if he absorbed the borrowed stellar energy. He answers yes since he tried to control it while it was little, but unfortunately, it worked. The evil god is outraged that he managed to absorb his stellar energy and didn't die, and asks if by any chance he really could be his predestined one. The MC asks what he said, and the book answers nothing since as long as he stays alive, that's what matters. At this moment, the teacher appears asking what happened, and they reply that they were just sparring for practice until Chen burst with energy. He is surprised to hear this since he sees intense energy overflowing from the MC, so he asks Wen Hao to fetch a detector immediately. After running the test, he realizes he is level 3, and everyone is shocked because they are unsure if they saw it correctly. Because of this, Zhang runs at full speed since Chen is the first level 3 they've had at the school in a long time, and he needs to report it to the principal. The girl asks him to teach her how he leveled up, but he simply tells her to keep training since she'll get there eventually. Jiarui says he's not surprised he got so excited about the fight he had earlier, and she asks if by continuing to train, they'll really be able to level up like him. While the commotion spreads through the hall, the MC asks the evil god if he won't yell at him. The book replies that it's already used to it, and since he leveled up quickly, it won't waste time arguing because it needs him to get stronger no matter what. He tells him not to worry since he has a lot of energy stored, and when his body finishes absorbing it, he will probably reach level 4. The evil god just stares at him without saying anything. After that, time passes, and there are 55 days left until the exchange tournament. During this time, the MC continues training alone and with his team. Time goes by until it's finally September 6th, and there are 0 days left before the tournament. At the venue where the event will take place, everyone is amazed since they didn't believe the stage would be so big. Wen Hao asks the MC if he's ready for level 4 fights, since the gap from level 3 to level 4 isn't small. He tells him not to worry because the principal said to just participate enough and win no matter what. So if it gets dangerous, he'll simply give up. His team wishes him good luck since the rest areas for level 3 and level 4 are separate, meaning they'll have to split up. He says goodbye since the moment has finally come and decides it's best to prepare as well. Meanwhile, in the VIP stands, the principal comments that it's his first time in a VIP area, and the teacher says the school only competed in level 2 matches, so they'd never received that kind of treatment until now. At this moment, Ming Yuan appears greeting the principal and congratulates him, as he didn't expect him to rise from level 3 to level 4 so quickly. Hu Wei explains that the efforts came from all the students, and that he just did his best to meet everyone's needs, also thanking him for notifying them in time about the rule changes. He emphasizes that there is indeed a new format, since the central government plans to increase subsidies for the winning schools, so the competition will definitely be fierce. At this moment, Several people appear, saying they didn't know there were bumpkins there for the first time. The principal gets irritated at this, and his friend asks him to calm down because those people are all principals of schools that won tournaments in the past, so it's better not to start a fight. He makes it clear that this was in the past, and the tournament hasn't even started yet, so who wins or loses is still to be decided. Likuo taunts them, saying he already expected that an arrogant dog barks louder the higher it climbs, and tells them to savor their last time on stage, since they'll never have another chance. The principal just sits down, and the teacher whispers, wanting to know if the kids will be okay since it's their first time in a high-level match. Hu Wei asks what he thinks about their school's students, and he replies that he thinks they're amazing, especially Chen, who is extremely talented. The director agrees and therefore only asks to trust him. Meanwhile, in the arena, Ludian is holding her school sign high in the crowd and reflects that she is very nervous since it's her first time in a place like that. Besides wanting to know how Chen is doing, she confesses that she couldn't believe it when she heard that he was going to enter the tournament. That was a week earlier. She was walking through the school right after receiving the news that Chen had moved to the special class and tries to cheer herself up, since now he is a school star who even represents level 4 players, and therefore she believes he probably wouldn't want to talk to someone from the lower class anymore. At that moment, she trips, but before falling, someone catches her. It was the MC, asking if by any chance she is okay. The class representative gets embarrassed and thanks him for the help, also asking what he is doing in that place. Chen replies that he was passing by when he saw her and decided to come over to say hi. Then he grabs the crate to help carry it, and she, even embarrassed, reveals that she was thinking that after he entered the special class, he wouldn't want to be friends with someone like her anymore. The MC just smiles and asks what she is talking about since friends are friends, and status doesn't change that. The representative is happy to hear that. Back to the present, it's announced that the contestants will enter the stage, and Chen prepares for it. Currently, Chen is rank E level 4. His ability is power lending. He has 999 wishes remaining, 0 rewards remaining, and 0 current payment due. His total remaining debt is 99,808,912 won. The announcer welcomes everyone and informs that the Outer Zone exchange will begin that year, with him as host, along with his partner Lillian. Everyone in the audience is shocked, since that girl is the most popular idol at the moment, and they can't believe she will be hosting the tournament. She, with all her charm, says that the Lillian of that day is not the same idol Lillian everyone knows, as she is there to work seriously, and the true stars are the contestants. They explain that there are 12 academies participating, and each academy sends 4 representatives. Among them, the level 4 group has 16 competitors, while the level 3 group has 32. However, that place is only for the level 4 group, and if anyone wants to watch the level 3 group, they need to go to another hall. She informs that the results of the level 3 and 4 groups will be converted into points, and the final ranking will be determined by these points, starting with the advancement rules, where each match is one-on-one, and the winner moves on to the next round. Meanwhile, the winners continue fighting other winners until the champion is determined, and to ensure the contestant gives their best, the time limit will be half an hour, and the battle ends when one side loses the ability to fight or surrenders, so she hopes everyone shows their true skills. At that moment, she asks everyone to look up, and everyone is surprised to see the legendary Rank S envoy named Bai Yue, president of the venue, as they had only seen him on television. Bai Yue makes a single movement with his finger, and the ground begins to shake. Everyone is shocked, as they expected nothing less from a master, since just one single movement was enough to shake the earth. The host continues saying that the jewel in front of them must be used during matches, and it not only serves as competitor identification, but can also protect them in critical moments. However, people cannot take their eyes off Bai Yue. The same goes for the MC, who begins to imagine that indeed the power of a rank S is like that of a god, although he didn't expect it to be so overwhelming. However, he notices that the evil god does not care at all about the presence of a rank S, and is even making his own nervousness disappear by seeing him so calm. Lillian resumes her explanations, stating that the results of the matches will be displayed on the competitors' gems, and officially announces the start of the tournament. The first round will be Wang Lu against Xiaoran. The match started intensely, and Xiaoran ended the battle with a powerful attack similar to a cannon. Meanwhile, the directors watch from the VIP room, and Hu Wei confesses that he did not expect a rank S as a guest, and therefore believes that year's tournament will be fierce. His friend explains that the difference between level 4 and level 3 is so great because level 4 can fully unleash the effects of combat arts, and the academies are so wealthy that buying a rank C combat art is nothing to them. Meanwhile, several businessmen keep flattering Likuo. Four Eyes says that this year, things will be different. The battles continue, and this time, Lisa attacks with everything, but Lankan dodges easily while raising her hand and causing several energy chains to bind her opponent. He starts to worry because he cannot break free until she rushes in at high speed and lands a knee strike squarely into her opponent's strength. This drives the entire crowd wild since using a technique to restrain the opponent and attack at the same instant is amazing. The director is also surprised to see that skill since it is rare even among rank D envoys. Ming Yuan agrees, as it is indeed rare to awaken such potential, basically being a 1 in 10, 000 talent. Uyu, who is also a director, hears the conversation and says that power is nothing special, but Four Eyes rebuts, questioning why he despises it when the director spent a fortune trying to steal Lankin from them. This irritates him until Likuo orders them to stop, saying that the girl is nothing more than an envoy who awakened early. At that moment, something catches their attention as the fight between Zhuo and Manlin is announced. But before the announcement even finishes, the boy is defeated in less than 5 seconds. Everyone is shocked since the battle ended instantly, and they believe that year's champion is already decided. Zhuo comments that the tournament is boring as he imagined. Oyu confesses to being surprised despite not expecting less from a student personally trained by a director. Likuo once again emphasizes that the more a dog thinks it's strong, the louder it barks. Ming Yuan doesn't like this and asks to let it slide. Hu Wei just keeps watching and figures that simply meeting the minimum guarantee to participate was already good. And if Chen can win just one round, or at least show something interesting, it's already a huge gain. Meanwhile, the MC keeps warming up and confesses he didn't expect his match to be the last one, also wondering what kind of opponent he will face. The evil god asks why he doesn't borrow power to finish it at once. He replies that in recent years, students at that stage have only reached level 4, so jumping to level 5 would be too much and would likely trigger investigations. At that moment, Lankin appears and says he is unlucky since he's in the last match. He is confused, and she explains that his opponent will be Leich, an envoy from Zhongshan Academy and one of the top contenders of that year's championship, who even possesses powerful techniques that not even a rank D envoy could withstand. The MC asks if it's not an exaggeration to use such a move in a lower level match. She replies that the jewel everyone received can block a fatal blow, but the body will not be fine afterward. He thanks her for the warning and asks why she is helping. Lankin says that the directors of both schools are friends, and therefore he can consider her a kind of ally. Then she says goodbye, explaining that she hoped he could play the role of an ally by eliminating some opponents for her. But since his opponent will be Leihi, she does not have high expectations, though she appreciates it if he can wear him down a bit. He becomes thoughtful about this since, given the respect she has for the opponent, he must be someone extravagant. After that, he goes to the arena as it is announced that the final match has finally arrived. Everyone is excited to watch the last match and shout that they couldn't wait any longer. He is surprised since he didn't expect such a warm reception, but soon feels frustrated because in fact, all that enthusiasm was for his opponent. At that moment, Leich appears in great style in the arena, and this makes the crowd even more excited to see the students' triumphant entrance. On the other hand, the MC looks back without letting himself be intimidated. Leich stands up and everyone starts commenting that they never imagined the final round would be him, a person who reached level 4 in just 4 years. The crowd was frantic on his side, and this makes the class representative upset since she doesn't see anyone cheering for the MC. A woman hears this and asks if it isn't obvious since Reichi is handsome and strong, and tells them to look at the opponent since he is clearly a bad person. This makes Liudian irritated, saying she is Chen's #1 fan since she knows he is a strong and kind person, and the one without personality is Reichi. The woman becomes furious with this insult, but the girl retorts that the one who first insulted the MC's appearance was her, and both stare at each other with hatred in their hearts until they start shouting each one for their idol. Some Academy students are surprised since it is the first time they see the class monitor so fierce, and they question what is happening. The narrator shouts that everyone is in ecstasy with Reichi's presence and therefore announces that the match will officially begin. But Lillian interrupts him, saying that he forgot to introduce one of the competitors. He is embarrassed since he had completely forgotten, and after apologizing, he formally introduces Chen, saying that this fighter has no past achievements, and besides that, has no signature technique nor record in the academy, since it is his first time in the tournament. The MC becomes worried with the description and wonders if he should have at least bought a technique beforehand. The audience, after hearing this, finds it funny that a school spent all its resources to raise a single level 4 to fight, considering it a waste of a slot. At that moment, the woman mocks the class representative again, since she discovered she is a newcomer in the school. Meanwhile, in the VIP room, Uyu also mocks, saying that the student from Huwei's school had the bad luck to fall against Raihya and laments that he will be expelled from the battles without a single victory. The director only sighs, and his friend asks him to ignore it since every school has a first time. At the same time, in the arena, Raihya asks Chen if it is his first time in the tournament and confesses it was such bad luck to have encountered him in the very first fight, saying that unfortunately, they must understand that genders carry heavy expectations. However, the MC only tells him to just fight normally at once. In the blink of an eye, Reich moves and appears beside the MC, saying he will use only 1/10 of his power as a warm-up, since as a first fight, it will seem a bit more respectable. His speed was such that he ended up on the other side of the arena, and once again, Chen just asks to fight at once. The narrator, seeing this, is ecstatic, wanting to know what happened since Reichi appeared instantly at Chen's side and without delay shouts for them to start the fight. With the order given, the blonde boy moves quickly and attacks with all his strength using his fist, and before hitting moves again, going in all directions around the MC. The narrators are perplexed with what they are seeing, wondering if perhaps it is a special technique. They observe the countless simultaneous attacks at high speed, and the narrator says it looks more like several enemies attacking at the same time. Lang Qin, watching the fight, sighs and says that unfortunately, the guy is really difficult to deal with. The director Uyu, however, is pleased since his student's strength is much greater than what he is showing, and in fact, no one can match him. Reiche keeps moving at high speed and asks why the MC is not moving, and if by chance he cannot even keep up with 1/10 of his speed. He laments and says it makes sense since only Zhuo is worthy of being his opponent, and while preparing another attack, he says he will finish it once and for all. Chen laughs and asks if he really thinks he is not dodging. This scares his opponent, since at that same instant he takes a punch in the mouth even though the MC was facing the other way. This surprises the narrators as well as the other fighters and the audience. The same goes for Reichi, who after taking the punch, needs to understand what the hell just happened. The punch was enough to knock him to the ground, and the narrator shouts that Chen delivered a single punch and easily broke through his opponent's technique. People start shouting that Reichi was hit and that Chen is cheating. He is outraged by this since he only counterattacked. In the VIP room, the Four Eyes celebrates his friend's student strike since it was incredible. Uyu, however, shouts that it is impossible since no level 4 can match Reichi's speed and asks if by chance the student is actually an older person in disguise. The director finds it funny and questions if the evaluators wouldn't have noticed if he were someone in disguise. Uyu tries to argue back, but Likuo tells him to shut up since that noise is becoming an embarrassment, and, looking at Reiche, warns that the fight is not over yet. The MC looks back, and his opponent warns that he has not lost yet. He confesses that using only 1/10 of his strength was a mistake for underestimating him, but guarantees that he will no longer hold back. He begins to overflow with an absurd power since he no longer wants to suppress anything. His power starts spreading throughout the arena in the form of thunder. Chen realizes it is an intense energy until he gets scared by a beam of light passing by his side. When he notices, this power changes direction, and the narrator shouts that Leish is using the arena's barrier to keep increasing his speed more and more. He gets excited since he is about to witness the famous signature battle technique. The blonde boy smiles and goes all out with his explosive kick, but it is completely useless since it only served for him to receive a punch in the face that throws him with full force to the other side of the arena. The MC warns that he should have attacked earlier since it gave him time to get used to his speed. The narrator shouts that once again, Leichi went flying after receiving a blow and announces that his star stone turned red, meaning he completely lost the ability to fight, and therefore announces that the winner is Chen. At the same time, he reflects that he almost couldn't contain his strength, but feels relieved for the existence of the Star Stone that grants enormous protection, and believes that this way, everything will be fine throughout the fights. The audience does not hide their surprise since the fight was so fast that they could not even follow it. The division of fights is shown to everyone, and the battle continues with Lan Qin defeating his opponent as well as Zhuo. The crowd becomes increasingly amazed since the fights are being finished with just one blow. At this moment, he faces a murderous intent and the crowd is shocked since this happened out of nowhere. Now the next fight is between Chen and Xiaoran. The boy starts by delivering his explosive punch, which is almost impossible to block. But the MC keeps dodging with extreme ease, and with just one punch ends his opponent. Meanwhile, the organizers who are watching the fight are outraged since Chen is winning without even using a battle technique, as he is only using star energy to strengthen his body and nothing more. Xianmin questions whether by chance the MC is at a level above 4 and lowered his classification to compete, or if he is using some kind of illegal drug to increase his power, since in either situation, it is a violation of the tournament rules. The narrator prepares to announce the next fight, but notices that the organization is heading toward Chen. The audience does not understand what is happening, and one of the organizers asks the MC to put on the special glove and then release an explosion of the pressure of the star energy once he has put it on. The audience speculates what may be happening since the inspectors went to interrogate Chen and believe that perhaps he is not level 4. The MC feels embarrassed and reflects if perhaps he overdid it too much, and that he will need to be careful not to stand out in the future. The result is that his star energy is stable, and he really is a ranky level 4. The inspector says that the verification was complete and there is no evidence of fraud. Immediately, the narrator shouts that they confirmed there is nothing wrong with Chen, and therefore the tournament will continue. The audience hears this and shouts inconsolably since Chen defeated countless opponents in a row, and in fact is not using cheating. It is announced that the next fight is between Lu and Chen, and soon the boy begins to sweat cold knowing the MC's power. And indeed, it was so, since another fight ended with just one blow. The narrator shouts excitedly, since unbelievably, Chen secured another victory and advanced to the finals. Ming Yuan praises his friend since he has a special student. Furthermore, other people start flattering, saying that director Hu Wei is better than they thought, including hearing that he is someone extremely dedicated to work, and that is why he got an incredible student. He becomes thoughtful since Chen really reached the finals in his first tournament. After that, Lan Qin begins to climb into the arena, imagining that for the honor of her academy, she cannot lose. And when she sees who her opponent will be, she is startled, as it was Zhuo overflowing with an incredible aura. Some fans start screaming, and this draws Zhuo's attention, distracting him for a moment. Lan Qin realizes a good chance has appeared and attacks without thinking twice, managing to land a direct hit on his chest. However, her opponent does not even flinch, and she is shocked, as she never imagined her attack would be completely useless. He grabs her arm, asking if by any chance she has prestige, but furious, she lands an elbow strike on his mouth, since she does not know the reason for the question. Zhuo laughs, thinking she is pathetic, and Lan Qin, furious, activates her ability and binds her opponent as if he were a mummy. However, she is forced to retreat instantly as a colossal energy begins to pour out of Zhuo's body. She tries to calm down as the fight is complicated, but she is startled as he appears behind her in the blink of an eye. She turns around frightened, trying to understand when he moved, but takes a full punch that throws her with force to the other side of the arena. Ming Yuan begins to feel uneasy watching the fight. Lan Qin is on her knees on the ground and also drops her necklace that says peace. Even injured, she says she cannot lose yet and remembers a rainy night. She had entered the room questioning why everyone was gathered since training time had started. Her shaken friends respond that it is the last day at the academy and they will have to go back to work, but they wanted to keep studying. She laughs at this and hugs the two, asking them not to worry, as they will definitely win the interstate championship, and thus the Ministry of Education will not cancel the subsidy and everyone will be able to continue studying. Her friend, still sad, asks if it is serious and she says obviously yes. The brunette takes something from her pocket and gives her an item, saying that her mother made it with all her love so that it would bring good luck, and assures her that everyone will be cheering for her. Lan Qin thanks her for the gift and says she will do her best. Returning to the present, she is completely injured, and all she wants is to retrieve the item, but Zhuo steps on it and asks why she is fighting so desperately for something useless. Then he lands a kick on her stomach, enough to make her fall to the ground with the star stone turning red as she is incapacitated from fighting. The commentators see this and shout that victory already belongs to Zhuo. However, he does not stop his attacks, and, charging absurd energy into his foot, says that he will put an end to the heroine of Yunhu Academy. The commentator shouts that the match is already over and orders him to stop the attack. The audience is also shocked, wondering what the hell Zhuo is trying to do. The school principal also shouts in panic, ordering him to stop the attack immediately. An inspector yells at Rank S that if he doesn't intervene, the girl will die, but he, without showing any reaction, says there is no need, and the attack happens anyway, with Zhuo destroying the entire arena with his blow. However, the MC had already saved Lan Qin with his absurd speed and even asks how he dares to intimidate someone who cannot fight back, and if by any chance that is the fighting style of his academy. Zhuo looks furiously to the side when he sees Chen save the girl. The commentator shouts in relief, as Lan Qin was saved at a critical moment. The principal also runs relieved to see her well. On the other hand, the audience becomes furious seeing that Zhuo went too far by trying to kill her. He starts walking carelessly, saying it does not matter, as one more or one less makes no difference on Earth, and the MC, irritated by this, overflows his power and dares him to try something. The girl is taken away on a stretcher, and then it is announced that both fighters have agreed to go directly to the finals. But first, the arena will be restored. Meanwhile, in the stands, a blonde boy goes to Liudian, asking if she is by any chance Chen's friend. She replies yes, and that she is looking forward to the finals, but soon changes her expression as she realizes the opponent seems like someone difficult to deal with. Back in the arena, Ming Yuan says it is madness to let a lunatic fight and therefore asks his friend to be careful. The director agrees and shouts for Chen to be very careful, but he only asks not to worry. At this moment, Zhuo warns that a school without resources has no chance of winning, so the battle is already over before it even starts. But the MC tells him to shut up since he talks too much, and asks if they are going to fight or keep talking. He gets irritated hearing this, and both begin to release all the energy they have since the battle has begun. In the blink of an eye, Zhuo moves and lands a punch straight on the MC's face to the point that the entire arena feels the impact. He confesses that he thought his opponent would be impressed until he gets scared since the blow didn't even move Chen from his place. Furthermore, the MC provokes by asking if that is all he has. Next, he tries to grab him with his hand, but Zhuo manages to dodge in fright, and with his fist closed, they exchange blows frenetically. The narrators scream surprise since they had never seen such an intense battle as both fighters are extremely strong. The MC's friends arrive in the audience scared after witnessing that fight, and only then realize that Chen had been holding back the whole time in the fight against them, and they can't believe the power difference. Zhuo feels cornered, and because of that takes a punch straight in the mouth that almost knocks his teeth out. The teacher together with the director are scared of the fight since they had no idea that Chen had such great power even without high-quality resources. Zhuo, not believing that he got hurt and extremely furious, activates his battle technique, Blood and Maximum Boiling. The evil god watches this and comments that the opponent is forcing the star energy in his body to erupt, increasing his strength, and questions if by chance this is the so-called power known as a battle technique, since he found it interesting. The MC reflects that the opponent's speed increased abruptly, and even with him close, he knows it is useless against his own perception. He says this while activating his ability that keeps his mind focused, greatly increasing his sensory ability. An inspector comments that the intensity of Zhuo's star energy is increasing rapidly, and they wonder if they should check him in case he is cheating. Baiyu replies that that competitor only used a technique from his family that temporarily strengthens the body, granting power above his level, so that is not a violation. However, he confesses that on the other hand, Chen does not seem to have used all his strength since the beginning of the battle, and is quite curious about this. Both fighters exchange insane blows, and the audience wonders if Chen is at a disadvantage against that technique. However, the reality is different since the more Zhuo attacks, the more the MC dodges until he takes a deep breath and counterattacks. Zhuo manages to block but is still pushed back. He confesses that he is facing the first person who managed to force him to release so much power, and, even angrier, he releases all the energy he has from his technique, since he does not believe there is anyone stronger. Once again, Chen asks if that is all he has, and decides to activate his ability Borrowed Strength, since finally the fight will get interesting. Both prepare their fists against each other, and after colliding their blows, the MC reflects that he can see the punches clearly using his perception, as well as knowing that his opponent's weak point is the heart, and therefore lands a blow exactly in that spot, which causes Zhuo's technique to deactivate instantly. Chen does not let it go, and rushing forward begins to deliver countless punches one after another. The brute starts to get scared since he can no longer keep up with that speed, and seeing that he has no other way out, activates his demonic power, shouting that he is the strongest of all. However, This is not enough to intimidate the MC, who with his fist closed warns that the fight is already over. However, Shuo is charging with everything, telling him to die at once. The blows of the two collide and a devastating explosion happens above the arena. The director is shocked, not knowing what happened until the dust begins to settle and it is possible to see Zhuo standing, but in the next second he falls to his knees on the ground with the starstone turning red, meaning he lost the ability to fight. So the announcer shouts that the winner is Chen. In addition, he informs that Leitiyu University also achieved a historic turnaround, securing the championship with 200 points, and, moreover, it is the first time since the beginning of the exchange tournament that a peripheral academy has won the overall championship. The audience goes wild since they thought the fights were amazing and had no doubt that Chen would win all the battles. The board also celebrates as they are proud of the performance of their students, especially the director, because finally, he will not need to beg for resources. The organization knows that now they will have to congratulate Hui. On the other hand, Likuo is extremely furious with this result since his student was humiliated, and to make matters worse, even those who supported him are fleeing from him toward Hui. At this moment, the rank S says he is leaving, but inside he is interested in Chen. He senses the presence of two people and imagines that there are more important heroes in that tournament and does not know if they are also there because of Chen. The old man, after watching the fight, says he did not expect the outer district to produce so many talents, and asks Lin if she really knows Chen and if she could invite him to their guild. She replies that they were neighbors as children, but after she moved, they never saw each other again, and she found him again at Blackwater. Apparently, he did not recognize her, but she guarantees that she will do her best to recruit him. The award is given to the top 3 finishers, and Director Hui thanks everyone for their presence, ensuring that even small universities have their place. At all times, the director asks the MC to smile for the cameras, and he finds this more tiring than the matches themselves. After that, the next day in the director's office, they are reading the report, and Hui confesses that they achieved everything thanks to him, and therefore he will give the crystal he promised before. He then says that he hopes the Specialized Institute will contact him soon, and when that happens, not to forget Leitiyu University. The MC asks him not to worry since he will never forget. He leaves the office and finds his friends waiting in the hallway. Jiarui confesses that he did not expect the schools to have sent the admission notices so quickly and that they were from the 5 great academies. The MC congratulates him since he knows that his friend has great skills and therefore it is normal for the academies to invite him. He is happy and says that as a subordinate, their goals will not be so limited and one day they will be the greatest partners that exist. Chen does not really understand what he meant, and Zhao Xia explains that they are counting on his help since even with the courses not being shared between the academies, they will be able to see each other in their free time. He smiles because he agrees that being alone is boring and reinforces that in the future, they will really need to train together so everyone can become stronger. At this moment, the class president appears and asks if she could join the group since she also wants to become stronger. After that, they go to the academy, and Liu Tian is amazed at what she is seeing and asks if she can really study there, since she honestly did not imagine that he would take her request so seriously, and therefore she is grateful. The MC says that he did not do much since he only mentioned it to the director, who agreed instantly. She thanks Hui directly for the opportunity to use the equipment. He says that it is not a problem and even intends to remove the restrictions from the honor class so that all students can freely use the equipment. He concludes by saying that with the subsidy for having won first place in the competition, they will finally be able to do what they always wanted, and all of this is thanks to everyone's efforts. Jiarui confesses that he is dissatisfied since the school will only be renovated after he graduates, and he did not enjoy anything. When Hao then tells him to shut up so as not to ruin the good mood, the director laughs and says that they can always come back. At this moment, Zhao Xia asks Ludian why she suddenly became interested in training since the exchange competition is over and the school holidays are about to begin. She, embarrassed, replies that she used to think she had no talent, but as she saw everyone fighting for their dreams, she made a decision since she wants to be amazing like everyone else. And as she is more confident, she plans to apply to 5 major academies as a special culture student. Zhao Xia cries with emotion at all this determination and runs, holding her friend's hand, also saying that she will help as much as she can. Then the blonde boy asks Chen if he already has a plan or has decided on a school. He replies that he has not received any admission letter. This leaves Jiarui outraged, since there is no possibility that the 5 major schools would not want the champion of the tournament. The director hears this and calls the MC's attention as he was about to speak about it and hands him an envelope, which is an admission notice that had just arrived at the school. He takes it in his hand, and the blonde boy once again says that he is sure the 5 major schools would invite him. The letter was from the Dawnblade Envoy Professional Academy. They praised him for his exceptional talent that deeply impressed them, and, for that reason, would like to invite him to study at the Dawn Academy. In addition, they ask him to read the following instructions carefully. If he accepts the opportunity, it is necessary to keep the card safe until arriving at the academy to register before September 16, 2026. If he refuses, he only needs to break the card, and the qualification will be automatically annulled. Jarui shouts in outrage when he sees which academy it is, since it is one that can even suppress the 5 major academies of the country. The MC asks what he means by that, and he explains that the country has the 5 major academies, which are the Morningstar Academy, the Vigilant Academy, the Red Lion Academy, the Sky Academy, and the Alpha Academy. Each one has a symbol of authority and power, holding supreme privileges. However, there is one that can stand above all 5, and that is the Dawn Academy, since it is such a powerful academy that if it selects a student, it has priority even over the 5 major academies. The MC says he understands, but does not know why this academy has such a high status, considering the others are called the 5 major academies. The director replies that the value of the Dawn Academy cannot be measured by the 5 academies, since it was founded specifically to eradicate the rift. He does not really understand what this rift is. Hu Wei explains that, in fact, there is a reliability agreement, and the existence of the rift cannot be freely disclosed, but they all received authorization, so he believes it will not be a problem. The class president feels a little intimidated, as she does not know if she has such authorization, and he asks her not to worry as long as she does not tell others. He then explains that the rift is a vast world full of creatures as powerful as heroes, and it is a place where, if the creatures escape, the consequences would be unimaginable. So, every time the rift appears, envoys are needed to enter and eliminate the creatures. And although clearing a rift brings much fame and fortune, the danger is far beyond imagination. He also says that he was once part of a rift-clearing squad and that the team suffered countless losses. In the end, as a main member was seriously injured, the team could not continue as morale was broken in half and they had no choice but to disband. The MC listens to all this and keeps staring at the card, while the director makes it clear that he may refuse the invitation without problems, since other academies will contact him to invite him and suggest that he should not throw his life away. However, he replies that he will go, since deep inside he knows that he can earn a lot of money while becoming stronger and stronger, so there is no reason to refuse. Jarui approaches and says they will not be left behind, since as long as everyone becomes strong enough, they will not have to fear the rift. He then asks if the letter said it was until the 16th, and he replies yes, and that there are only 10 days left for the report. The director explains that the Dawn Academy has its own way of operating, so the MC runs off since he needs to hurry and asks everyone to train very well. After arriving at his house, he sees the list of things he will need to go after. At this moment, a sinister aura appears in the apartment, and he realizes that the aura belongs to the evil god who was in possession of the crystal that was in the academy. A demonic hand comes out of the portal and touches the artifact, then pulls with its nail all the energy that was inside the item, causing it to shatter on the ground. The MC simply cannot believe that his crystal was broken for no reason. Chen starts crying since the crystal turned to dust, and he wanted to trade it for some money, but the evil god says he extracted the power from inside the crystal and that the stone itself has no value, and he still wants to know if Chen will not return to the school to take care of business. He replies that he was accepted into the Dawn Academy, which is said to be a perfect place to obtain the best resources, so he will be able to become stronger, but the only problem is that he will need to fight against rifts. The book says that the rifts are nothing to fear, and, in fact, guides and rift creatures are essentially the same thing, because the energy of the starlight that guides like the MC have originally comes from the rifts. Chen finds this interesting, but goes straight to the point, wanting to know if there will be some reward since a wish was fulfilled. He says this because in the wish list, where it was necessary to obtain the black crystal, it was completed. The evil god asks if he is some kind of robot cat, since he is always asking for something, but then changes his expression, revealing that the rifts are connected to his wish objective, and therefore he will reluctantly help this time, since through the crystal, he recovered a bit of his strength, but only enough to give a reward. At that moment, Chen's body begins to overflow with incredible energy, and with his eye completely different, a system appears informing about the authority of creation, where the fragment is connecting to the holder of the permission. The body of the holder of the permission is scanned, and the body classification is E4. Cognition of the holder of the permission acquired being Chen Ju. The restructuring of the body was also completed and optimal enhancement was achieved. An excess of starlight energy was detected and automatically converted into level. With this, he successfully reaches level 6, rank E. Upon completion, the authority of creation was successfully concluded and he only sees his different hand and asks what happened to his body, since on the system in front of him, there is an alert about the fragment of the authority of creation, power of the demon god of creation, Satosuto, and the holder gains the ability to manipulate the creative power. The evil god explains that Satosuto is an old friend of his, and the authority of creation is a gift from her, which makes it possible to extract the potential of a bearer and create the most suitable power, even changing race or body. And since the rewards he gave before were useless to him, he decided to share the authority of creation, and from that moment on, he could create his own power. The MC does not understand very well, and asks if it was not something too complicated since he only leveled up, but the book calls him an imbecile, since level is not everything. He reveals that for the guides, the level only affects the basic physique, and when one reaches rank D, the first awakening potential is what really matters. And if the potential is weak, no matter how high the level is, in the end, he will not be strong. That is why he gave the authority of creation, so that he would not awaken a trash potential. After all, if he becomes too weak, he will be completely useless to himself. Chen remembers that Lang Qin awakened early with a type of ability and believes that this must be that potential, and compared to that, combat abilities seem simple. If he wants to attack the rifts, the potential will be very important, otherwise he will have difficulty dealing with a single monster. The evil god informs that the power of the creation's caution is generally related to knowing the bearer and asks him to test it at once. He comments that he can no longer feel the energy of the starlight being absorbed and believes that his body was indeed remodeled, also noticing that even the old scroll-style system changed to resemble his video games, and he feels more familiar with it. The system states that his lineage is human and his potential is blocked. He is at level 6E and has 30 constitution points, 0 strength, 0 agility, 0 spirit, and 0 divine sense. Perception is unlocked, and there are 994 remaining wishes from the evil god. It is stated that the exchange shop will be unlocked upon reaching rank D level 7. Ranking up is also blocked, as well as the manage option. He sees all this and realizes that most things are locked by level, so he knows what he needs to evolve first. The system also presents the requirements to level up and the cost of each attribute, but he notices that he does not have enough souls, so it is not possible to level up, and souls are mysterious substances extracted from rift creatures, and currently, he has 0. The MC comments that he is losing the key enhancement item and apparently needs to enter a rift, but he can no longer rely on starlight energy, and with his current strength, he would only crawl back out. The evil god sighs deeply as he is apparently chained to Chen and says he will grant one more wish. The mission in question was to survive for 70 days, and because of that, he receives an alert that he is receiving a reward, and the magic armor of Kedra has been obtained. He feels his body overflowing with incredible energy and asks if the magic armor is a type of equipment. This is a unique equipment of the Hero King Kedra, bound to the soul, and does not need to be worn. It is an exclusive combat ability that summons the armor on the body to block attacks and increase strength when activated. He becomes excited upon seeing his hand different since it not only increased defense, but also strength. The book, already exhausted, makes it clear that it cost all the energy it had saved and will count it as an early investment and therefore wants him to work hard to repay it. The MC apologizes for this and says he will never forget that kindness and will work hard. The next day, he calls a taxi and tells his friends that it will take 1 day to reach the middle-level city, but he wants to start classes quickly. The director asks to be informed if he needs anything. The MC shows a letter saying that he has a favor to ask since he would like them to visit his mother in the hospital sometimes, and, if they meet his sister, to deliver the envelope. Hui takes his hand, and seeing that it is important, asks if he should not deliver it personally. He replies that unfortunately, he has some conflicts with his sister. The director understands the situation and says he will take care of his family as best he can. His friends ask to see each other in the middle of the year. With that, Chen says goodbye and goes to the airport. The attendant asks if he needs a visa and flight to the middle-level city and asks the reason. He replies that he wants to make an enrollment, and inside, she does not understand since it is still vacation and not class period, and therefore, she politely asks him to show the admission certificate. He presents the card that was given to him, and the woman is shocked since it is an identification card from Aurora Academy, and even though she has worked for years, she has never seen one before. The MC waits for her to say something, and since she does not answer, he asks if it is not enough, as he also has an admission letter to show. Only then does the attendant realize she was distracted and apologizes for her rudeness since that card is enough, and she informs him to proceed to the plane where he will find the commissioner. The MC asks if he will not need a ticket, and she replies that with his status, flights to the middle-level city do not require a ticket, only round trips do. With everything settled, he takes the flight and sits relaxed, since he did not imagine he would be in first class, already realizing the privileges of Aurora Academy. He then looks to the side, seeing the city from above, and asks that this academy does not disappoint him. After some time, he finally arrives at the Alvarada Academy and finds it quite peaceful, not even looking like a school. He goes to the reception and asks where new students should register. The staff member asks him to show the card and, after carefully analyzing who he is, becomes happy, saying that Chen has finally appeared as he had been waiting for him and therefore will take him to the school. The MC is confused and the man explains that, in fact, another person wants to meet him. They go to another place and the receptionist asks him to touch the stone with the black card. He questions if by any chance there is a secret passage or something like that, and the man warns that he will find out soon. Then, when he takes the card and touches the stone, a light appears, and he is surprised since, in the next second, he is teleported to another place, and only then realizes that the previous location was not a real school. The receptionist confirms it, as the location of the Alvarada Academy is much farther away, and therefore they use a teleportation stone. They go to another place since there is a certain person waiting, and upon arriving, he greets the girl who was waiting. The MC looks closely at the people inside the room, and Lin asks if he remembers her since it has been a long time since they last saw each other. At that moment, he realizes who she is, and says he is grateful, although he did not expect her to be his senior. The other girl in the room thanks the receptionist for the escort and informs him that she has already transferred the money. He thanks her and says he will leave them to talk. The MC, curious, asks Lin why she called him specifically to that place, but he is interrupted by Ming Qing, who questions how a filthy commoner from the outer district dares to approach Miss Lin. Because of that, the girl scolds him, telling him to watch his mouth since Chen is her guest. Then she asks the MC to sit down so they can talk, but he replies that it is not necessary, as he just wants to know why he was called there. She sighs, saying it will be brief, and explains that the guild she belongs to is short on members, so she would like to invite him to join, saying that the offer is 30 million. He is surprised by this huge amount, as he has heard that the hiring price depends on strength and potential, and as far as he knows, it is difficult to exceed 1 million. Ming Chung is outraged by this, questioning if she has gone mad since. With that amount, she could hire 3 high-ranking level B speakers or a beginner level A1, and that trash from the outer district is not worth that. Immediately, Lin changes her expression, telling him to shut up and questioning since when he has the right to make decisions for her. The boy becomes terrified and apologizes, saying he didn't mean to offend and can't understand who the MC is for her to defend him so much. The second girl just watches. Lin comments that he probably just arrived in the central city and therefore must not have joined any guild, and says it was the best offer she could make, so she hopes he will think about it sincerely. Chen reflects that indeed, he is tempted by the offer as it goes far beyond his wildest dreams, but he doesn't understand why a rank E rookie would receive such an offer. Before he could answer, it is announced over the loudspeaker that all students should gather in the assembly hall within 1 hour. Lin comments that apparently the last new student has arrived and asks him to leave his luggage in that room since he can pick it up later. In addition, she points out that the guild offer came out of nowhere, so she understands his hesitation, but asks him to think about it until the end of the freshman orientation, as there will be a senior and junior guidance session. He replies that he will think about it and she thanks him, also asking her friend to take Chen to the assembly hall. She says she will do so immediately, and they all go to the hall. A blonde boy imagines that he wasn't expecting to be the last student to arrive, as he sees himself as the protagonist everywhere he goes, and still reflects that, as far as he has heard, the eldest daughter of the Lin family is also at that school, and therefore he thinks it's better to get close to her, since if he builds a relationship, he might even get married. Then he observes Chen sitting and finds him pathetic, since it seems that the freshman class is not impressive, and decides that he will sit next to him because that will make him look better. At this moment, Jiang Hui draws everyone's attention and introduces himself, saying that he will be the instructor for all of them that semester, and informs them that his job is to organize exams and record results, except for some mandatory events. He already warns everyone not to go after Glory, since they are just freshmen in the academy facing the unknown called the Rift. He explains that the Rifts are hunting grounds for a speaker, and inside the place, no human weapon works, and only physical power and weapons made from Rift materials function. Then he says that they can learn more details in the library, and that there is also specialized combat training for the Rift in the simulation room. In addition, different teachers will give lectures, and he makes it clear that they can learn whatever they want since nothing is mandatory. And the more they understand about the Rift, the stronger they will become to survive. He notices that there is no fear in the students' eyes, and therefore orders the school to give them a reward, sending several skill stones to the students. They are surprised since they didn't imagine they would receive something like that. The MC also takes one, and it is the Eye of Insight, a universal combat technique. It allows automatic detection and identification of the Klek language, which is the language inside the Rift. Then the instructor tells them not to celebrate too soon, as they will have 2 exams ahead. The first being the admission test for freshmen, which will require completing a low-level Rift, and the second is reaching rank D, awakening their potential within 6 months. In addition to earning 100 credits in 1 year, the students become worried since reaching rank D in just 6 months is crazy. The blonde guy becomes excited since he is a rank D of the 5th stage, and it will be easy for him, and he even believes that no one in that class is above that. The MC imagines that he is currently a rank E of the 6th stage, and since he cannot rely on supplements to level up, he will have to find a way to enter the Rift. At this moment, the instructor asks everyone to be silent, and says that he is aware that reaching rank D in 6 months is difficult, but explains that the school's special potions are much cheaper, so they won't have to worry about resources. He also talks about the mentors who will assist everyone. Therefore, he asks them to enter, and everyone is amazed since one of them is the beautiful Lin. The instructor announces that new students can choose a senior as a supervisor. Immediately, they start drooling over Lin and can't believe they are seeing her in person. A guy with glasses asks who the senior everyone is talking about is. The guy next to him replies that she is the heir of the Manhwa guild, and that if someone pleases her, they might even have a chance to enter that guild. The MC pays attention to this conversation and finally learns the name of Lin's guild. At this moment, one of the students stands up and greets the senior, saying that he only enrolled in that academy because of her, and therefore begs her to supervise him. She notices the boy's appearance and already deduces that he is a strength-type oracle, and charismatically replies that unfortunately, she is in the magic department, so there isn't much she can teach. Another student stands up, saying that although he is trained in strength, he decided to train magic as well, and therefore asks for her guidance, but is also rejected. After a while, with several requests being refused by her, they realize that they expected nothing less from one of the 4 great guilds, since they have very high standards, and therefore they will have to choose another senior. The instructor finds Lin's attitude annoying and warns that this year she will have to accept at least 1 new student, otherwise he himself will randomly select one. She says she already knows that and completely changes her expression, leaving the MC startled since he doesn't know what to say. The blonde guy, however, thinks it's great that everyone was rejected and imagines that with his talent and looks, there's no way he'll be rejected, and even if he is, he knows he'll still be assigned to the Lin family. At that moment, Chen stands up and catches Lin's attention, saying that he is in search of knowledge and therefore would like to be by her side. Then he wants to know if she would be willing to supervise him. She becomes embarrassed by this request, and all the students tease him, asking if he hasn't learned his lesson yet, especially after that kind of approach, since it will be useless. However, everyone's expression changes when she simply accepts the request with a beautiful smile. Even the arrogant one is shocked, as he knows the girl will only take 1 person and doesn't understand her selection criteria. After that, In the mission room, the MC takes the opportunity to ask Lin if she is really the heiress of one of the 4 great guilds, and says that they are probably lacking powerful oracles, so he doesn't understand why they would spend a fortune on a rookie like him. She replies that she recruited him not only for the guild, but also for personal reasons, and will explain it after the test, since she must first pass the admission test she organized. Then she points to the side and says that the 4 people in front of them will be their teammates for the test. Suhan introduces herself as a rank C level 5 and says she will be the examiner for the test and won't participate in the battle unless a teammate's life is in danger. Then Liu Wei also introduces herself as the team's healer. Xiaolin says he is the long-range support. Lastly, Larui introduces himself as the tank and leader of the team for that test, making it clear that they must follow his orders to pass. He also asks why Chen doesn't have any equipment and if he perhaps awakened any special potential. The MC introduces himself, stating his rank and saying he hasn't awakened any potential. The guy can't believe he's a rank E rookie and asks if he will take the test without any training, since he will definitely just get in the way. The girls tell him not to make noise since complaining won't help. He gets frustrated and only asks them to make sure Chen doesn't become a burden. Liu Wei turns and asks the MC to stay close to her when they enter the rift, but he tells her not to worry, since he has combat experience. The girl sighs and says he doesn't understand, since without a weapon or potential, he won't even be able to wound the creatures in the rift. Then they go to make the evaluation request, and are informed that it will be in Rift Room 1. They also take the fragment of the World Tree to open the rift portal. With everything ready, the portal opens, and Chen immediately notices how dense the energy emanating from it is, and all he wishes is to find the enhancement item for the key without problems. After crossing the portal, they arrive in a deep cave, and everyone gets startled, entering battle positions as they have been spotted. The MC quickly notices that the entire team entered combat formation at the same instant, which is impressive. Meanwhile, Suhan uses her stealth to vanish and wishes everyone good luck on the test. The next second, the tank yells as several demonic wolves are attacking. He blocks the attacks, and the archer doesn't waste time, firing her wind arrow that shoots through the monsters in front of her. Furthermore, Larui also uses his frenzied slash, finishing off the monsters in front of him. Due to his excitement, he lets one of the wolves pass, and the archer shouts for the tank to pay attention. Because of that, she gets bitten by the wolf while trying to defend herself. The healer shouts that she will heal her, but at that moment, one of the wolves appears behind her, ready to devour her. The girl panics, realizing there's no time to do anything, but the MC appears and delivers a simple strike that kills the wolf instantly. Then he asks if she is all right, and a notification appears, saying he has gained 1 proficiency point and also obtained 10 souls. He realizes that apparently one can gain souls by killing creatures, and gets excited since a monster that weak gave 10 points, meaning stronger monsters will give much more. Meanwhile, the archer tries to defend herself until the healer approaches and begins using her healing ability. While helping, she keeps wondering if a freshman really saved her, since she didn't even see properly what happened. At the same time, the examiner watches from afar, noticing that everyone's overall strength isn't bad, but their coordination leaves much to be desired, especially the leader in the vanguard, since he only thinks about his own fun in battle. She knows that the leader's equipment compensates for his recklessness, but a rift isn't that simple, as things will get worse. Meanwhile, the tank is killing at full speed, thinking he'll finish everything alone until the monster approaches him, and he turns, attacking with all his might, hitting the sword squarely, but the monster's skin is so tough that his sword flies far away. Another stone monster appears attacking him, and the guy panics since he couldn't react. Immediately, the girls scream if there really are stone wolves in the area, and realize they've been surrounded. The leader keeps yelling to be healed, but the healer says she's too far away. The guy shouts for her to heal him quickly, since if they fail the test, it'll be her fault, and that leaves Liu Wei in shock, paralyzed and unable to do anything, and because she's vulnerable, a stone wolf appears to devour her. Immediately, Suhan panics since going to the vanguard alone in that situation is suicide, and she prepares her sword, thinking she'll have to intervene since the test is already hopeless. But soon she's surprised as the girl is simply pulled by the MC, who's holding the wolf's mouth with one hand, and, with a simple squeeze, manages to kill the monster, obtaining 30 more soul crystals. He realizes the wolf is stronger than the previous one, which is why it gives more souls, but he knows that rock means nothing before the power of the demonic armor. He orders the whole team to follow him since he'll lead the front line, and picking up the fallen sword on the ground, he starts running at high speed, finishing the first monster in front of him as well as the second, and goes on killing them all. The examiner is incredulous, trying to understand how a freshman is so skilled, since from what she's seeing, he's even stronger than a rank D. The two girls on the team are also shocked by his power and speed, not believing that Chen is merely rank E, and soon start running as more monsters try to devour them. The MC looks back and tells them to duck. Then, with his absurd speed, he takes down all the stone wolves with a single blow. He says that everyone is probably safe and asks the healer to take care of the wounded. The two are still processing what happened, having just seen a freshman finish off several wolves in an instant. Liu Wei begins treating the tank, and the archer goes to the MC, telling him she'll stay in the vanguard with him since, thanks to his help, no one was seriously hurt. He says that's fine, and checks that he's already gained 210 souls. At that moment, they hear someone shouting that they're quitting the test. It was the tank, saying he's on the front line killing monsters while the rest of the team does nothing, and that he can't pass with insects in the same team. Zhaolin becomes furious at this insult and retorts that none of this would have happened if he hadn't rushed ahead, leaving the team behind, and her friend tries to calm her down, since they need to regroup to finish the test. Lirui calls everyone trash, saying they can't do anything without the tank holding the front line. At the same time, he imagines he'll make everyone understand his importance, since they'll need to beg for him to stay in the vanguard. However, Chen approaches, telling Lirui to stay in that spot and announcing that he'll take responsibility for the vanguard and they'll finish the test together. The guy asks what he's saying, and the MC replies that if the team needs a tank, then he can easily take that role. Lirui finds it funny and asks if he thinks he's that great just because he managed to kill a few wolves, since without any equipment, he'd turn to dust before the boss. However, the girls agree with Chen's suggestion, and the guy yells furiously, wanting to know if they really believe the words of a freshman who has no equipment and hasn't even unlocked his potential. The archer insists anyway, since she witnessed his abilities firsthand and believes it's not worth giving up. In addition, she says that the MC is a reliable person who doesn't cry or complain about any little scratch. That said, she asks everyone to move on, and the tank becomes furious since he is the captain and everyone is ignoring his presence, so he vows to make them all regret it. After a while, more stone wolves appear and are quickly shot down by Zhaolin's arrows, who celebrates her accurate shots. Chen also helps since he's eager to collect more souls. Liu Wei warns where the shadow wolves are, and the archer attacks in the informed direction. At that moment, a wolf approaches them from behind but is hit squarely by another monster that was thrown by Chen. They comment that apparently the monsters are over, and Zhaolin asks how many monsters they killed. The healer says probably 50, and isn't sure since it was so easy that she didn't even count. Then, she says that all of this was possible thanks to the amazing rookie who can even act as a tank, so they're not under pressure. Chen says that actually it's because they're working well as a team. Zhaolin says that just ahead is the passage to the final area, and soon they'll pass the test. As they walk, the archer takes the opportunity to ask the MC what that blue light on his arm was during the fight, since she's never seen anything like it. He shows his ability, and, trying to bluff, says he also doesn't know what it is since it just appeared one day. They look surprised and ask if it's armor, so they're not surprised that he wants to tank. Liu Wei, also surprised, asks if he isn't rank D, since what she's seeing is incredible, and asks if he really hasn't awakened yet. Zhaolin believes he hadn't awakened and thinks that maybe because he's a freshman, he doesn't know the rules. But she knows that awakening early is extremely rare. Then she comments that if he has potential, he should report it when joining a team, so that he won't be discriminated against because of his ability. He says he understands and reflects that it will be a problem if missions are required to be done in teams, since the others managed to defeat many monsters. So he lost many souls, and that's why he wants to find a way to do them alone, so he doesn't have to compete for kills, since he currently has 800 souls and could have had much more. Meanwhile, the examiner watches from afar, still shocked since she can't believe that a rank D freshman managed to change the whole team, and she knows that besides being strong, he's more suited to be captain than Lirui. Only then does she realize why Lin insisted so much on putting him in the team, since, at that pace, they'll finish the test soon. On the other hand, she finds something strange and wonders why Lirui is hiding his presence and following the team, not knowing what the guy is planning to do. After walking for a while, they realize they've reached a dead end and believe it's the final area, but don't understand why it's empty. Liu Wei comments that maybe the mission has no boss, or maybe they killed it without noticing, but her friend says It's impossible, since if the boss had been killed, the portal would have closed. They say it's a headache because if the rift doesn't close, the test won't be complete. At that moment, the MC's perception skill senses a presence and immediately shouts that the boss is above them. As soon as he says that, the monster jumps toward them, hitting the ground hard while they dodge at the last second since they were warned in time. The archer deduces that the boss was ambushing them, and as the dust settles, they can see the wolf's silhouette better. Everyone is terrified since several giant wolves appear in front of them, one of them being the Rock Wolf King of rank D. At that instant, the examiner comes out of stealth mode and orders everyone to retreat since the test must be aborted. She warns that there are 3 elite levels and 1 boss level, and the difficulty is far beyond the test scope, and when the rift's level was scanned, the stellar fluctuation wasn't that high, so she makes it clear that it's not possible for them to handle that situation with their current abilities. The MC observes the situation and imagines that 3 elite monsters and 1 boss should yield many souls, but knows that if he tries to face them alone, the risks will be high. He barely thinks about it when a system window appears in front of him, informing him about the mission of the demonic book's wish. It is necessary to acquire the soul of the Stone Wolf. It is currently incomplete, and if he leaves the fissure, it will be considered as abandoning the mission. He is aware that once the contract is established, even the smallest thought of defying it will be punished with torment continuing until death, and all of that indicates that they are creating conditions to force him to fight. This only makes him excited, as apparently something is watching him from above, and so he steps forward, asking to let him take care of the bosses, and with his power overflowing at full force, he warns that the bosses will be his. He stands face to face with the boss, and Suhin shouts, asking if he is an idiot for wanting to fight 4 at once, since boss-level monsters are no joke. On the other hand, the archer asks them to observe a bit longer since she trusts Chen, who doesn't seem like someone who does reckless things. Suhin, even though worried, knows she must respect the wishes of a student in the exam, even if it costs him his life. The MC asks everyone to hide their presence since he will handle everything alone, and the healer asks him not to overexert himself. He observes his opponents and, just from their aura, knows they are on another level. If he didn't have the demonic armor protecting him, he would probably die from a single blow. However, he doesn't understand why he doesn't feel a trace of fear, since compared to what lies behind him, those monsters are nothing. At that moment, the boss howls, and the 2 elite wolves charge to attack. Chen uses his perception to dodge the first strike and continues his battle against the bosses. From afar, the girls watch in shock, since a rank E rookie is resisting against 4 Lord-level monsters, wondering if all tanks are this strong, but the healer dismisses that thought, since their team captain is a perfect example of the opposite. The examiner, also surprised, comments that there are rumors of oracles with powerful potential being able to defeat a Lord-level monster alone, but it's the first time she's seen someone fight one using only their bare hands. Even though surprised, she worries, knowing that monsters of this level aren't simple to defeat. Meanwhile, the MC continues fighting and reflects that the speed of the giant wolves is almost equal to his own, and while fighting one would be easy, against 4 at once it's a different story, so he knows he must not prolong the fight or he will waste his energy. He changes his strategy, deciding to defeat the king first, so he attacks its head with full force, but is startled since even using the power of the demonic armor, he couldn't break the shell. At that moment, the king uses its stone armor skill, and the wound begins to heal. The MC doesn't like that at all, and believes he must find a way to pierce the wolf's armor soon. At the same time, Larui watches from afar, unable to believe that a rookie really challenged 4 rank D Lord Wolves and still hasn't died, not knowing how that's possible. Then, he changes his mind, believing that if a rank E can fight against the bosses, it means they aren't strong, and he himself should defeat them easily. Holding his sword, he believes he should kill the monster since he is the team captain, and so he charges forward, shouting that if he kills a player by accident and then slays the boss, his future will be secured. But Chen deflects the sword without even looking back and, with a smile, says that the timing is perfect as he jumps to the side since the wolf is attacking. Immediately, Larui activates his enhanced defense, since dodging is no longer possible. However, it's completely useless as his shield is completely shattered and his body is sent flying toward the wall. The MC takes the opportunity to grab the sword still in midair and, after positioning himself, says that he will put all his soul points into the agility attribute. 800 souls are consumed, and his agility level goes from 0 to 5. With his enhanced agility, he activates his divine speed and rushes forward at an absurd speed, slicing the wolf's head with a single strike and gaining 750 souls for the kill. He admits he didn't expect to gain a new skill just by increasing his attribute, and according to the system information, Divine Speed is an exclusive ability that grants an additional 10 agility points and extra strength based on the user's current speed. The monsters are cornered, but the MC wastes no time and instantly kills the second wolf, gaining another 750 souls. Suhan is shocked by his overwhelming speed until the giant wolf, seeing it has no chance, turns its gaze toward the group trying to wake Lirui, and taking advantage of that moment, it charges to devour them. The archer prepares her attack, saying she won't be intimidated just because the boss thinks they are weak, and unleashes her skill with full force, making the wolf retreat. At the same time, the MC appears and cuts the monster in half with a single strike, totaling 2,260 souls acquired. Now only the Wolf King remains, and Chen decides to use the points to level up. He spends 2,000 souls and rises from rank E level 6 to rank D level 1. A powerful aura engulfs his body, leaving all the girls terrified. A notification appears for the MC saying that the holder of authority has reached rank D and therefore unlocked his potential. The potential in question is the Abyss, which allows him to summon a demon from the Abyss. Because of that, his goal of reaching rank D has been completed, and the reward is an exclusive combat skill. He likes the outcome and immediately uses the exclusive skill Touch of Death, which summons 4 tentacles of the evil god's death from the domain of the Abyss. The Wolf King is gravely wounded, but before it can do anything, its head is sliced off by a single sword strike. That's all, folks. If you enjoy the video, subscribe and hit the bell. Thanks.